Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Hello, people, and welcome to the Rational League. Of course, welcome to another stream. It's on the news to speak about. Number one, Chelsea win to go fourth again against, not against all odds. They always slap Spurs. 1-0 win. Caicedo scoring a wonder goal, but get chopped off because of like a millimeter offside, as they wanted it to be offside to keep the game going. I didn't think it was offside, actually, in my opinion. And Sarr scores an amazing goal, gets chopped off. Ange cries to the media now. He's feeling the pressure. I'm not sure if anyone watched the press conference. He literally just almost cried in the press conference. It was embarrassing, to be honest. Liverpool, Diego Jota comes clutch. And Tarkovsky calls out the referees and say they are in favor of Liverpool. The goal should have been offside. That's what he said. Actually,
I can take it from most other people, but not Mr. Tarkovsky after what he done earlier that night.
It is so shameless that he should have been sent off. And they had an interview with him for 2.5 minutes. And everything he said with that goal should have been chopped off. It's unfair. We should not have lost the game. This goal should have been chopped off. And they kept asking about the game. It's like, it's decided by a referee's call. Jota scoring a wonder goal, to be honest. Liverpool are 4 games away from securing the 20th league title to make history and tie Manchester United. And Manchester United cannot sing again. Newcastle as well. Good win. Tonali scoring arguably the goal of the season.
Come on. He didn't mean it.
Oh, come on.
He didn't mean it. I'm not having that as goal of the season when it's a cross.
Was it a cross?
Yes, it was a cross.
He's never.
It was a cross.
Yeah.
Really?
I'll tell you what, the game's done if we're sitting there going game of the season, goal of the season.
So I watched it again. Craig, one of the Newcastle viewers, he told me that watch the 18. There was no one in the 18.
Yes.
So who's he crossing it to?
Guess what, he didn't have an option. Cross it sometimes and hope that someone's there. You cross it and then you go, and then if no one's there, you go, why the fuck weren't you there?
But so Craig in chat said you don't hit the ball that hard with your laces if you're crossing it. But I don't think he was trying to put in like a nice curling cross. I think he was just trying to cause a bit of chaos in the box. But there's no way he's looked up in that situation and gone, right, I'm going for goal. Like, there's just no way. It's a great goal in terms of it looks great, but there's no way it's intentional.
In his post-match interview, he said, I think I would say it was 70% cross and 30% shot. It was difficult for the keeper and difficult for me. I think I was a bit lucky. That's not what you say when you're going, I've meant to hit that on just the right angle to catch the keeper out.
Yeah, I agree. Still, great goal. Great result.
Good goal, just not goal of the season. I'm not having goal of the season. With some of the goals that have been scored this season, I'm not having goal of the season be a cross-come shot.
Eddie Howe said Tonali tries that all the time. Eddie Howe is a fraud.
And Gerard Houllier once said Robbie Fowler sniffing the line was just him eating grass, which is what Rigobert Song does in training all the time. Managers lie.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Hit that like button.
I think you should be more concerned about his crossing. If he's doing that every single week in training, the question's got to be asked: do we want him in crossing positions?
Yeah, I'd be going, Sandro. Can you put it into the box?
Guys, let's get the likes up a little bit. Let's get the likes up. Let me hear your opinions in the comment section after. If you're watching this on the replay, hit that like button. I don't like putting targets for the likes. The like button helps the channel, help the algorithms as well. During this dead season after Arsenal completely bottled the league to Liverpool. So Liverpool won the league already. So the content is kind of like, in terms of the Premier League, is kind of dead. But listen, there are Ben White and Timber news. I try to research news, but we'll talk about that as well.
I'm sorry I'm still on the Tonali. I've just looked at the Tonali goal. Isak's on the penalty spot.
He's never going to stop.
Is it Isak or is
He's
it Wilson?
Never going to stop. Khalas.
Callum Wilson's on the penalty spot. Joe Linton and Joe Willock are arriving late into the box. So it's not like there's no one for him to aim for. There's 3 players in the box. He's crossing it to one of them. I understand it. So you go, oh, that was a good goal, that. But I'm not sitting there trying to rewrite the narrative on this being this wonderful moment of genius where he spotted Mark Flecken in a position like that. Now he shanked this cross into the back of the net.
You can tell. Look
at the celebration. He stands there going, fuck you, now didn't expect that for a celebration. If you've meant that, you're going fucking mental.
You guys saw the news about Abu Khalid here saying that the big news is Kevin De Bruyne leaving the Premier League.
Yeah.
You know why that is not big news?
I mean, we all knew
Does anybody know why? You know why this is not big news?
he's not being
We all knew it was coming, and he's not been
Exactly, because it hasn't. This is the thing, like Man City fans, some of them are having this, oh my God, he's leaving. A legend leaving, yes, but he hasn't been effective this season at all. And a lot of them wanted a replacement. But listen, I don't think it's that. It's who comes in for him. Is it going to be Wirtz? Is it going to be Echeverri? Is it going to be who? But listen, we have to start with Chelsea, though. Let's start with Chelsea. We had an argument before the show started, people, about it was a great game. And I thought it was a great game, quality-wise. I'm going to tell you why it was a great game. I'll tell you why. Don't laugh. I'm going to tell you why it's a great game. I thought Caicedo had a monster performance, that one of the best DM performances I've seen lately. Monstrous performance. The amount of tackles, the goal he scored, the distribution, how he managed to be in front of the... He scored the goal, bro.
He didn't. Enzo Fernandez scored the goal, mate. If we're allowed to count offside goals, Nunes is the best striker in the Premier League, because fucking hell, when he's offside, he's great.
Werner's got the most goals in Premier League history, I think.
I know. I like this little rewrite. Who else have we got? Who else was brilliant offside? Because I
It was a great goal. It was a great strike. It was a great strike. It was by a millimeter offside. So we have to give him credit for the strike. A lot of people would shank that it would go all the way above the bar or wide. It was a great game, to be honest. Great performance, to be honest, by Chelsea. It was very good. We're not going.
Not a great game.
It was a very good game. It was absolutely
the quality of the game
was entertaining. Really cool. It was entertaining to watch. It was
the flare-up.
Some stuff has happened.
Yeah.
The whole thing with the Colwell and whoever the fucking Spurs player was. Who was it? Fucking Romero or whoever it was.
Romero
is one of the most shithouse players in the Premier League.
Yeah. But it wasn't a game when I was sitting there going, fucking hell, look at some of the football getting played here. I can't believe it.
Not at all.
It was scrappy. It was low quality. But it was entertaining because neither team was just so much better than the other.
I think there was
quite bad.
I think Neto put a good cross in at one point that got to Sancho, and Vicario made a really good save, but Sancho should really finish it. Other than that, there just wasn't much quality.
There was a bit of quality. Tactically, there's a lot of quality in this game. Technically, there was a lot of quality. That blonde guy who you guys told me his name, Bergvall.
An individual player having a good game does not make the game
number one. The game tactically was very good.
Postecoglou took him off. He was their best player, and Postecoglou took him off.
Let me tell you why I think the game was very good. Tactically, I thought both teams were very good. Even Spurs defended well, not that bad. Spurs adapted. Spurs had less position than Chelsea, which normally doesn't happen to Spurs. So Ange Postecoglou changed the tactic. Tactically, I think he will get a point for this. Right?
Fucking hell. We're giving Postecoglou tactics points in 1-0 losses where his team had one big chance. Fucking hell.
He defended well. Yes, they are 14th in the league. They're 14th, 15th in the league.
They shouldn't be 14th, 15th, though, Mo. I'm not giving him pity points because his shit management has put them in this position. His team should not be 14th, 15th.
Also, okay, they lost 1-0. They get lucky that Caicedo's goal is half a centimetre offside. They get lucky,
and they get unlucky that Sarr goal was chopped off.
No,
that wasn't unlucky. It was a stonewall foul.
I thought it was just for a red, actually.
Me too. I actually thought that he should have a red.
I don't know what's happened to you now. So now we're allowed to count goals if they were offside, if it was good. We're allowed to count goals if there was a foul in the build-up, as long as it was good.
But also, first
I'm not
minute,
counting the goal, you fraud. I'm not counting the goal.
First minute, Chelsea hit the post because Spurs couldn't defend a simple ball over the top. Sancho should score.
That was fucking... Oh, my God.
On another day, they could have lost 3 or 4-0.
Did Van der Ven hit the post?
Virtually
it was Van der Ven.
Van der Ven hit
Jackson.
Into Jackson's shin.
Jackson's leg onto the post.
That was it.
So I don't even think they defended that.
And I've got Mo trying to tell me it's a high-quality game when that is what I'm seeing in the first minute.
I think it was a very high quality.
Shambolic. Enzo Fernandez getting a free header on the penalty.
See the difference?
I think his movement was excellent, to be fair.
Exactly. I will give credit to a midfielder making a late run to the 18, between the center back and the full back when he's not marked to get at the end. The cross was perfection. You guys don't want to give Chelsea
Palmer's
credit.
cross was really good as well.
Yes.
Brilliant cross. Very good run from Enzo Fernandez.
Okay.
Van de Ven runs towards Nico Jackson.
That is what a center back would do.
When Romero's already marking him.
No, Romero was ahead of him. That's what normally happens.
You can mark someone who's behind you.
Van de Ven can see
behind
in front of him that Romero is marking Jackson.
If you have an idea, right, so if I'm in a back three and there's the middle centre-back behind me and he's got one defender either side of him, it should be a case of he tells me I've got a guy behind him and the guy at the back tells him he's got a guy behind him and we deal with it that way rather than what Van de Ven done, which was go right up to Nicholas Jackson, basically sandwich him in and leave all the space for Enzo Fernandez. And Jed Spence is too busy trying to do the right thing, which is mark Pedro Neto.
Yeah.
Because you've got Pedro Neto behind him, he leaves Fernandez.
Yeah. If Van de Ven is aware of what's going on around him, he sees that Romero is on Jackson in front of him, and he sees that Jed Spence has got both Enzo Fernandez and Pedro Neto coming in behind him. And if he sees that, he drops backwards towards Enzo, not forwards.
He doesn't. But that's not how it works.
Also, if we really want to nitpick,
once Tom stops talking, I'm gonna present my case.
If we really want to nitpick, why is Vicario glued to his line?
I'm gonna present my case. Number one, the cross was so quick. He's never gonna let me talk.
Oh, Mo, come on! It's a good cross, but Enzo Fernandez heads the ball inside the 6-yard box. I'm sorry, a goalkeeper should be able to claim a cross that's coming in if it's going to land in the 6-yard box.
Not every cross can be defended by the goalkeeper. Sometimes the height, the strength, the speed of the cross, the goalkeeper doesn't have the time to come out. So it's better to stay in the goal. Number two, normally when the ball is on the left, the right center back goes to cover that side, and the left center back goes to cover the striker. That is how it works. That is how we always played football. And the late run from the 18 has to be defended differently, right? It was, and Jed Spence was covering the guy behind him. It's Jed Spence's mistake. But the run from Enzo Fernandez was so quick that Jed Spence could not cover him. Why can't you just give credit to Chelsea?
I've just watched it back. It's 100% on Jed Spence there. He's the only person that can see all the action in front of him, and there's no communication from him at all. He does check his shoulder for Neto, but when the action's in front of you and the ball's coming from that side, I think you have to read. You have to read the cross. Van de Ven, maybe Van de Ven should have been more aware, but Jed Spence and communication there needs to be better, I think.
I think you mean Doggy.
But that doesn't take anything away from...
Doggy. It might be a Doggy. I'm just looking at it. Yeah, okay,
I've pulled it up here. I would get what you're saying if Sancho was there.
Look at Van de Ven.
Don't play the video.
I'm not, Mo, it's not my fair. I'm not going to play the clip for you. Don't worry.
Okay.
I'm just saying, if Sancho was there, then I'd get why Romero's got to be moving to there. But there's no one there. Palmer is not going to float across into there where there is 5 Tottenham players ready to pick it up. It's clearly going to go towards the penalty spot, which is where Van de Ven should be passing Jackson onto Romero. Doggy should be passing Fernandez onto Van de Ven, and he should be taking Neto.
Every player should be dropping back, not going forwards.
I think they're expecting a near post cross there. And I think Romero's doubling up for the near post cross. Van de Ven's 100%. The man. A Doggy's going to take the 8 because he can see him. Back post will be left, but it's on the keeper's communication. If he reads that going back post, the keeper has to come and claim.
Yeah, I also think
they've read that as there's the 2 main runners there are going to be Jackson and Enzo. But a Doggy is one; he's too far away at the moment.
To be fair, yeah. By the way,
I don't think it's that far. It's 4 yards away. It's 3 yards or less than 3 yards.
There's a moment just before that when Enzo makes the run, Van de Ven looks at him.
Go before that, Tom. Go a little bit before that, but don't play the videos. Go before that.
We're trying
just a tiny bit.
This is the one. This is it. A
little bit further back.
A tiny bit, because Enzo starts pretty much level with Jackson. It's like there, right? Van de Ven.
But Jackson is free now, and Romero has him at his back. Then he needs to be able to see the near post cross as well. The problem is 3-on-3 in the 18 is the wrong way to
Enzo
defend.
Fernandez literally crosses Van der Ven's path. Van der Ven's body is literally actually open to Enzo Fernandez coming across him. He then actually waves an arm behind as if he's passing him off to the centre back behind him.
Can I understand what his son is doing here? What is Son's job?
I don't
here?
know what Son's doing, and I also
what
don't
is
know
Son
why.
Doing here?
I also don't know why the entire midfield is
on the right side. Six players.
It's
Six
an
players on the right
shape,
side. Is crazy.
Son is basically stood where a 6 should be, which is poor. But this is what I don't want to take away from the Chelsea goal because it's an excellent cross, it's an excellent run, it's an excellent header. But Mo was the one that decided to start talking about how good Spurs were defensively. So that was something I had to disagree with.
They had a mistake in this goal, but I thought that Spurs during the game were not as bad as you guys make them be.
But they nearly conceded in the first 2 minutes to a simple ball over the top. They leave Sancho completely free at the back post from that Pedro Neto cross.
Gusto was wide open. There was Cole Palmer nutmeg someone for a goal mess scramble. There was enough chances first half for Chelsea to maybe be 2-3-0 up. Actually, I thought.
I just didn't think Spurs were that good defensively. That was just.
They were all right. They weren't that bad to be. I thought they were okay.
You know where I thought they were better is I felt like they managed runners in behind. Maybe Chelsea didn't take advantage of it enough, but where I feel like I've seen Spurs be really weak and complacent at times with runs in behind that high line, I actually felt they managed it quite well and not just for pace. I felt like when the ball went over the top, they sort of dealt with it enough to delay it to allow other players to get back.
I felt like they sacrificed like their normal attack. To do that because they were completely toothless, which they have been for a while now.
That's one of the first times Ange's done that though that I can remember, where he's actually gone. I'm actually gonna sacrifice something here. Or make
he did
a
it against. He did it in the second. Well, he did it in both legs against Liverpool in the Carabao Cup,
right?
And they did it in the second leg, and the second leg in particular, Liverpool just literally dominated them from the first minute because he did. He didn't bottle it. He went for the conservative
and they're not very
route.
good. They can defend in moments. They can give you 10 minutes, but they
don't have great box defenders. That's the thing.
No,
they don't have a six. They don't have a six that is a box defender. I don't think Romero and Van der Ven are fantastic box defenders either. So, yeah. But then I think now that they've also lost the attacking, the one thing that they had even when it was bad was that offensively they were quite exciting to watch. They don't even have that now. So it's like you're 14th, you're tied on points with Everton in 15th and West Ham in 16th. You've lost the same number of games as Ipswich Town, and you're not even remotely entertaining to watch anymore. And it's like
I was so disappointed with Solanke and Son, like really disappointed.
Son is
from a Chelsea point of view, I wasn't, but from
Son is done.
Son should be right. Son should be writing a letter like Kevin De Bruyne is at this point. I think.
Yeah, maybe retiring rather than.
Except that unlike in Kevin De Bruyne's letter where it says we won everything together, Sons would say we won nothing together.
He won the Audi Cup. They had the moments. They had the documentary as well. They had the moments. I mean, I've just looked back at the Tottenham goal. Robert Sanchez is a very lucky man that got this allowed.
He is incredibly
I was thinking the same when Ange Postecoglou said that, we scored an amazing goal. I think it was a great strike, right? But I think the goalkeeper should save it, to be honest.
Like, at least Sanchez special.
Like, he should save it, to be honest. However, let's just establish something. The reason why Chelsea have the points is because Robert Sanchez saved it at the end, that Son far post one.
Do you know what, right? If Son had connected with that properly, that goes underneath Sanchez with the way that he dived.
Yes.
But Son didn't get enough on it. And I think Sanchez jumped way too high for a ball that was inevitably going to go on the deck. He almost leaped high and hoped
he launched himself. He spread himself big, but again, it is
he went up rather than that.
Son 2 years ago scores that.
Yeah, I completely agree.
He gets to the ball far quicker.
Son 2 years ago isn't sliding for it.
Yeah, he's there, isn't he? Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
It's
almost, this year he's lost half a yard apiece, and that's kind of killed the majority of his game. I mean, I know it was like a moment when he won a free kick. But the Son of a couple of years ago would have beaten the man who's fouled him and whipped it top corner, and he doesn't do that now.
Yeah.
Before we go on, guys, hit that like button. There's over 200 people in the house, so hit that like button, people. Come on, let's get to at least 100 likes first, and then we target 200 likes in the next. So hit that like button, people. Underneath your live chat, it looks like thumbs up for the people that been living under the rock. Let's get to 100 likes in the next 5 minutes. For Chelsea, though, I was watching this game and I thought that Chelsea looked way more solid than the last games they have played. Way more solid. Caicedo had a fantastic game. I thought Enzo Fernandez looked good. My problem with Enzo Fernandez, he's too slow on the ball. There's a couple of transitions where he's too slow on the ball. Cole Palmer played all right. I thought Neto was trying. I am very disappointed with Jadon Sancho still. In that first half, he tried to dribble about 5, 6, 7 times. And every time he gets dispossessed. And it's not only that he gets dispossessed with a tackle. He gets dispossessed for the opposition to start an attack. And I'm like, you cannot do this. If you're going to lose the ball, you have to be more protective of it for the opposition to foul you or kick it to a throw-in or a tackle that goes to your team. But him being being tackled like this, I was so disappointed with him, to be honest.
The definition of insanity is believing the same thing again and again and again, expecting shit to change. Jadon Sancho is crap in the Premier League. If you keep going into games going, this is the moment for Sancho, this is the moment for Sancho, it's not going to happen. This is Sancho.
I got cooked for this.
He's so bad. There's a reason Chelsea are probably looking to explore not making us obligation.
Do you know that, or Chelsea are already they already found a buyer for him?
They will find a reason if it's not financially responsible for them to pay to win that obligation to buy.
Who is the buyer?
He does not make in the Premier League.
Bayer Leverkusen as well. They want to pay £30 million for him.
He's a fantastic Bundesliga footballer.
Exactly. And he's worth more than this in the Bundesliga. He's worth more than £30 million for the Bundesliga team. Rory, he literally was one of the best Bundesliga players when he played there.
Yeah, but it wasn't when he went back on loan.
Yeah, Dortmund didn't want him back.
No, but Dortmund didn't want him back because Man United asked for like 50 million or something like this.
Yeah, but he also just they didn't even. He wasn't even starting by the end of that loan, was he?
But he played the semi-finals of the Champions League. He was unbelievable.
And he started. Didn't he start the final? Or did he miss the final?
I can't remember to be fair.
So you start in the final of the Champions League means that you are the starting winger. So the problem is, I'm looking at this Jackson yesterday. I don't know how to assess his performance.
Well, I think what Jackson provided a solution for the problem Tom suggested on the last show we did. I think there's been an issue with Neto. There was, exactly, Tom, and I think that showed. I don't think he's up to scratch yet. I don't think he's fully fit. I'm not sure. He doesn't look as sharp as he has done at some points this season, but I think it's a solution for the problem.
That goal doesn't happen if Jackson's not playing because Neto's not making the run.
Making that run, he's not occupying 2 defenders. Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah, it's very
why
true.
Chelsea need that was why I know on the last show there was a bunch of other reasons you were saying, but I think the biggest problem for them was just the structure was struggling because it was lacking the focal point. You had that focal point back, and a lot of stuff just clicked back into place. Now, there are still other problems. I do think that I know Enzo Fernandez scored, but Caicedo was doing an awful lot of work for one man in that position.
He's coping with it, though. I think he is coping with it in pretty much every game he plays.
You can't rely on that for years. At some point, he's going to have to get a support
we did with Kante. So I think there'll be a reliance on someone like Maresca's system. He'll have a reliance on one player to do that job, because he'll invert a fullback in there to cover when it's needed.
I just think it's still incredibly risky to do that at this point in time.
It's a risky approach, isn't it? And at times I think it will pay off, and at times we've been caught out for it. I think that's been shown this season. But I do think the Jackson point was spot on, and I think it was evident to see that him being back in the side definitely helped Chelsea to sustain.
I reckon Maresca just wishes Lavia could be fit. If Lavia was fit more often,
I don't think there's any chance of Maresca shouldn't be hoping for a player to be fit. That's proving to just not be a possibility at the moment. The same with Fofana. I think we spoke about how important both of them are to his system, and if neither are fit, you can't be planning a system around players that aren't available. You have to adapt.
I think I was surprised. I'm surprised that Cole Palmer is still playing in that left central midfield spot.
Yeah. Did you watch it? Even though it's really frustrating, isn't it, to just watch?
Yeah, but it's frustrating because he's clearly so good. He gets the assist with the cross. Could have had another assist where he pulled it back and there was that little kind of scramble that just ended up in Vicario's hands. But you're like, he could just be doing so much more off the right.
There was a moment when he got the ball played into his left foot. He took the touch of his left foot. It went onto his right. It was open for him to hit it, but because there's no right foot there, he wouldn't hit it.
Back onto his
But
left
if that was
again,
the opposite, and for me, the difference of Enzo Fernandez, like sort of box crashing into the space where Palmer would be, is just. I don't see the difference if he's on one side or the other, to be honest with you. I think he can make the same sort of runs, whereas Palmer's obviously very limited to his left foot, and the space that he's opening up into just isn't that effective for him with his right foot at times. It's just really frustrating to see. I can't believe they haven't sort of done anything about that, considering he's a 10 as well. It's not like he's been locked to the left-hand side only. Yeah. He definitely doesn't play better from the left, by the way, Static. He definitely doesn't.
Big up, Tyler. Thank you, Tyler, for supporting the channel and dropping the 30 piece.
He does.
It's top 4-5 enough for Chelsea next season? They're kind of getting away with it now. That's a very good question.
This season, Chelsea next season?
Next season. Super Chat is very clear. Is it, though?
No. I'd say next season you want to kick on. Like, second season with Maresca obviously depends, well, who's going to sell and buy, which I know is obviously a big thing with Chelsea. But yeah, I think next season, like a club the size of Chelsea, I think right now, like, accepted mediocrity is okay because you can kind of say you're in transition. But like next season, like, yeah, a club the size of Chelsea, you need to be kind of moving on to like back up.
Realistically, do you think so, Jamie? Realistically, do you think so?
I think that I wouldn't say they're getting away with it this season. I just think like it's just been like with the change of ownership, that was such a big thing with Chelsea. Like Abramovich didn't care about his money. He would just put it in, and then obviously financial fair play regulations got a lot stricter. The change of ownership, they obviously have a different model of doing things. But I don't think top 4 or 5 would be enough next season. I think that's when Chelsea fans would start asking questions, being like, "This isn't good enough. We need to be."
Chelsea must challenge next season. Be in the conversation.
Yeah, I would say so.
Can I give you a plausible situation, everyone? Who here thinks that Chelsea will make top 5? Realistically, no hope.
Next season.
This season. I want honest answer. Look at Newcastle, look at Manchester City. And people in the chat, it's no banter. It's real talk. Logically speaking, realistically, who here thinks that Chelsea, probability-wise, have a higher probability of making top 5 than Newcastle and Manchester City? Nobody, right?
I don't think they do.
Yeah.
No one. Logically, they still can, right? They still
it's between them and Newcastle for 5th.
Yes. So they can. I'm not saying they can't. They still can. They can pick up the form and start winning again. But logically speaking, you would think that Newcastle would edge over them because of how easy the running is, right? And because, by the way, Chelsea still have to play Conference League, and Chelsea don't have the depth to play a second team now with Gil being injured and stuff. So if that is the case, even the next season's target should be Champions League football again, not challenge.
No, because they missed that would be them missing on their target this season. So even though they missed on it next season, like you can't keep on saying, okay, well, top 4, top 5. Like they need to push on.
And not to make it about Arsenal, but Arsenal went 5th, missed out on Champions League, and then followed that up with a...
That was a fluke, and you know that. And you said that before. That was a fluke, and you know that, and you said that before.
It wouldn't necessarily be a fluke, but they backed it up. But they backed that season up with 2 more title races. It wasn't expected.
You said we didn't go into that season thinking that we're going to challenge for the title. It was out of nowhere because of Mikel Arteta's tactics and how Saliba turned out to be and how Saka, Martinelli, Odegaard played. But that is unexpected. That means you cannot plan based on the unexpected.
No, but I think the expectation should be, given the money and time that the new owners have had, because I look at Chelsea's project more from the perspective of the project of the new ownership rather than managers, because you can't just keep sacking managers and say, well, now it's a new project, because the project is clearly being run and orchestrated by the owners. Well, at this point, the project's, it's taking longer to reach the kind of pinnacle than... Not that Arsenal have hit the pinnacle of winning yet, but of reaching like a title race than Arsenal's. And the whole idea, I've always assumed, of spending the insane amount of money that they spent was to fast track the project. And if anything, it's taking longer. And you're looking now at, well, Man City might have completely done their rebuild and be back to competing again, whilst Chelsea is still trying to figure it out. So what's the purpose of spending the money? That's what I look at it as.
Yeah.
If you're just if you're fighting for top 4 or 5 again next season, you know your project's taken as long as Newcastle United's project. You're in the same bracket of what they're doing.
Yeah, like there's no point in dropping the standards because you missed out on Champions League this season because of Newcastle had obviously a late surge coming to the end of the season. Like, okay, we missed out. Now let's go for it again next year. Like the target this year was top or Champions League. And if it's the case that you don't get it this year, that doesn't automatically mean that it should just be the target next year. Like the target the following year should have been, say, to compete for the Premier League. So that shouldn't change just because you missed out on Champions League again this year. Like a club the size of Chelsea, it's not like we're talking about, say, a team that haven't been competing before, like, say, Newcastle and Villa. Like, if they missed out on Champions League this year, they would probably want to say, okay, we're going to get Champions League next year, not compete for the Premier League. With Chelsea, it's different because of the size of the club that they are and they've been competing for before.
I think it's very dependent on.
Yeah, I'm muted. I was muted. Did Chelsea lose yesterday? Very strange coverage here. We literally just praised Chelsea, DJ, about the win yesterday, but it's a super chat that was sent about the expectations next year.
It'd be very fraudulent if after the super chat asking about next season, if we just went, well, Chelsea won yesterday, so they're gonna, they'll definitely be in a title race next season.
I think we have to remember who Chelsea beat yesterday as well. We beat a Spurs team that have been astoundingly bad this season.
Aren't they like
a manager that hasn't beaten Chelsea yet
in like the Premier League history because of where they are after 30 games or something? Or they've lost like the most games they've ever lost after 30
They've lost
games
the most, yeah.
And the manager is sitting there during disallowed goals, cupping his ear to his own fans and telling them to shut up.
Incredibly, Ange Postecoglou now has, and he's guaranteed to have, 2 of the worst 5 seasons that Spurs have ever had in the Premier League.
And that's after having the best start Spurs ever had in the Premier League last season.
There's only 2 seasons.
But
it's only 2 seasons of one.
But by metric of losses in the Premier League season, I think. So last season, they had the 5th most, well, no, at the time, the 4th most losses they'd ever had in a Premier League season last season. And that was a good season. Well, not a good season, but... And then this season, they're on track to have, the most losses they've ever had in a Premier League season. They've got the same number of losses as Ipswich Town. It's crazy.
It's funny with United, with Spurs and with United. Like if either of them win the Europa League, I know United is probably more likely than Spurs, but if either of them win the Europa League, all of the season is forgotten because like they win a trophy and they get Champions League. So do you know what I mean? The perception will be a terrible season in terms of league, but like obviously that's what they're still hanging on for, and I think that's why Postecoglou is still in the job.
Before I do the super chat, do you know, guys? I think if Spurs win Europa League, I was thinking about this yesterday. They should sack Ange Postecoglou on the spot and hire a more competent manager.
Oh, you know what, Mo? I did not think that Ange Postecoglou
No. But because I'm gonna tell you why. Because a lot of Spurs fans said that everything will be forgotten, as Jamie said, if he wins Europa League. I think it should be the opposite. If they win Europa League, now they should build on it by having a different manager.
I don't know. Okay.
He might have a claim to unfair dismissal there, by the way. If they
sorry, Dan,
if he wins a trophy with Spurs,
he might.
And gets them Champions League. Like that would be like he would probably go down in history as one of the best ever managers.
Think about it, but long-term wise, you should be thinking about the future. You should be thinking about utilizing these guys. You should be thinking about being consistent. You should be thinking about what if Ange Postecoglou hit them in the Champions League? They win a couple of games. You did get knocked out. Let me just put the scenario. Based on what we have seen this season or last season, if they get Champions League next season, do you believe the season after they will get Champions League as well? Actually, the possibility is now lower, and I'm going to tell you why it's lower. Because he's getting knocked out in the first round. There is no drop in Europa League, so there's no chance of him. And based on the losses he had and the 2 seasons that Rory have said, he's not going to make Champions League. So you basically made some money and lost the future.
I don't think anyone disagrees with you. It's just the fact that you said it's this groundbreaking thing. Postecoglou should not keep his job, regardless of anything at the end of the season. I pulled up the stats because there were some mad ones. Tottenham Hotspur's lowest points tally since 3 points for a win was introduced in 1981 is 44. Tottenham only have 34 this season. Tottenham could realistically have their lowest points tally since 3 points for a win was introduced.
How many points left? 24? 24 points left?
27.
Win every game.
24,
they've got to go away to Anfield. I mean, if I just pull up the matches, they've got to go. They've got Forest, they've got Liverpool, they've got Villa, they've got Brighton, they've got Palace, they've got West Ham. That's
a
6
horrible
games
set of
there where I
fixtures.
can't see them winning. Or
So
it's
what,
not
they
like I
need
can't
10
see them winning.
points to go level?
I can't see them winning any of these games. Like none.
And the
zero.
thing is, they'll probably be focusing on the Frankfurt games as well. So,
Yeah, exactly.
They're so
they,
lucky
So they got
because-
Wolves
and
away.
that,
They got Wolves away either side of the Frankfurt games. That's a game where they could drop points because they're too focused on
Yeah,
the Frankfurt games and the
100%.
rest of certain players.
that's all. But yeah, and also like Brighton, Palace are probably preoccupied with the FA Cup, but Brighton, Villa, say Newcastle, they're all in the hunt for European spots, so they've also actually got something to fight for.
But they're
whereas in
gonna
the
win.
Premier
They're gonna
League-
win against Southampton. We know
you'd
that.
assume so,
Well,
but
yeah, obviously.
I mean that would be hilarious. That would be icing on the cake. But no, the lesson for
would that mean they've lost to every? Because it's at White Hart Lane as well. That would mean if they lost to Southampton, they would have lost to every single newly promoted team at home.
Do you know a stat that shocked me? They said yesterday, and just taken a point off of every Premier League team bar Chelsea. I can't believe that. Like, I
the
couldn't
Spurs
believe
against
that
the Spurs against Chelsea stats in general are pretty insane.
Yeah,
like-
but he's 19 other teams and just got points. I feel like I've seen them lose way more than they've won. I can't
Yeah,
believe that.
Me
That
too.
covered.
You got to be. He's played most of these teams 4 times now.
Yeah.
You
All
know,
he needs to draw in one of them games.
Spurs have played 32 Premier League games at Stamford Bridge, and they've won one of them.
Yeah, do you
one
know what? I think that's
one away
Pochettino.
win in the
I think
Premier League
Pochettino
against
won
Chelsea.
that.
Yeah,
In the Premier League era
Yeah, because I think
Yeah.
since '92.
before that it might have been Glenn Hoddle actually. Before that,
Yeah.
which was like before my time, but yeah.
but
I
no,
think
on the Postecoglou sacking thing, I think just look at United and Ten Hag. They kept him because he won the FA Cup, and it was a shockingly bad decision.
yeah, that's such a good point, Rory. Actually,
Yeah,
I
very,
think
very
Daniel
good.
Levy's waiting for the inevitable. He's well aware they won't win anything, and he can sack him without any backlash, without any issues
I
of
don't
court
think there'd be
cases.
backlash
Or
if he did it now.
No,
to be fair.
yeah.
I
no, there
think
wouldn't
there'd
be.
be
There
backlash
wouldn't
anyway.
be,
They
but
said they didn't go, why have you not sacked him before this?
because the outcome isn't proven, and also there might financially be a penalty if he's sacked before a period of time. Daniel Levy's a shrewd businessman. He's not going to part with more money than he needs to, and he wouldn't put himself in a position to lose out financially. He'll do it in a way that they said, didn't they? If Jose potentially won that game in the final, he would have had to pay Jose way more money, even if he'd parted ways with him, because he'd won that as a bonus and things.
Yeah.
He knows what he's doing. Guaranteed business is number one for Spurs because that's how they operate as a club.
They've already gotten to the final and then he'll sack them because they're real
Imagine.
bonds.
Yeah, no, that's not. It wouldn't even shock me, Jamie. It wouldn't even shock me.
Ryan Mason wakes up the week before the final with a phone call.
Yeah.
All right, Ryan, it's Daniel. I need that favour one last time, you know.
35 years. We lost
Yeah.
under Conte. Anyway,
I mean, these Spurs stats are mad. Spurs loss percentage this season is 53%. They haven't lost.
I am,
more than
but I
half
have
of
an
these
agenda
matches
when I
since
say what's the point of
1934,
Spurs.
35.
Mo have an agenda that says that it shouldn't be top 6. It's a top 5.
Postecoglou in his last 39 league games has won 44 points. He's averaging just over a point a game for Tottenham Hotspur across the last 39 games.
Think about it, KJ. Okay, let me do these 2 super chats. It's very important, like this very interesting conversation we have. How the fuck have City finished the rebuild?
You got ears for a reason. Use them. I said if at the end of next season Chelsea aren't competing, Man City will have finished their rebuild. Because if you don't think Man City over the course of this summer, next January, and then next summer won't have finished their rebuild, you're living on a different planet. So that's what that meant.
And I think
And they will have
Manchester City's intentions with their spending as well will be very different to what Chelsea's has been. Their intent on winning again is so obvious.
Yeah.
Spurs have won only 4 out of the last 15 games. Can someone tell me how many Chelsea have won in the last 15 games? in the Premier
5,
League?
6 out of their last 15, I would say.
It's not that different. It's
No,
not.
it's really not. It's really not. And I think this is what some people need to remember is that there's been a lot of criticism on Chelsea in recent months, but it's very fair that it's been coming because the football's been dire. I think yesterday against a better team than Spurs, we would have been in a difficult situation. I don't think we did unbelievably yesterday. I think we did enough to win.
It was a high quality game, mate.
No, look, I don't think we against the
Chelsea
better
were
side.
very
I
good,
don't know
actually,
if Chelsea
yesterday.
win that. Chelsea were good, and I'll give credit where it's due. We did enough to win that game early on, and probably could have taken our chances a little bit better, or got away with a few things and luck of the draw on offside and things like that. And I think actually towards the end of the game, Enzo Maresca actually switched it up, went 5 at the back, managed it, changed up what he needed to do. When I've criticised him a lot at times for not doing enough during a game to make sure he gets the result, he did. He switched it up. So I think you have to give him credit there as well, because I've criticised him for not doing it. So I'll praise him when he does it.
They deleted the comment. Someone said that Spurs have better squad, better team than Brighton, Fulham, and somebody
paper.
else's.
On paper, they've probably
Than
got a better
Bournemouth.
They do, don't they? They probably do.
I think
So
this is where
everyone
Spurs
agrees.
fans have
No,
lost.
no,
I
if
think
I-
this
if
is
I
where
told
Spurs
you-
fans have lost patience.
I agree. Actually,
Yeah.
Before you start, like
If I told you going into the season that with 8 games to go, Bournemouth would be 10 points ahead of Tottenham.
I said, you're mad.
I'd have said they should
Bournemouth-
sack their manager and get Bournemouth's manager.
Yeah, but Bournemouth, ever since
If I'd have told you, Rory's been hijacked. If I'd have told you, Mo,
Really been
that
hyped.
with 8 games to go in the season, Nottingham Forest would be 23 points clear of Tottenham
Mad,
with
you're
their
crazy.
old manager.
You're crazy. What happened to you? You got kidnapped or something?
I don't know what happened there. The establishment wanted to silence me.
Yeah.
Anyway,
You
but
just
anyway.
got a wonderful comparison about how imagine at the start of the season if we were sitting there talking about how Nottingham Forest with 8 games to go would be 23 points clear of Tottenham with their old manager.
yeah, mental. I also
23
But the-
points can save you in this season's Premier League.
The-
You can actually stay in the
Yeah.
Premier League with this.
the
23.
fact that Bournemouth are 10 points ahead of them. Bournemouth haven't won a game themselves since mid-February. As
Yeah,
soon as
their form's
Iraola
really
got linked
poor,
to the
isn't it?
Tottenham job, they collapsed.
It's a curse.
Their home form's dropped off the face of the cliff as well, actually.
Yeah.
Chelsea fans, would you cut the cordon? Is he injured again?
He is
Yeah.
actually, he is. And apparently it's worse than Lavia. So
And it was in
Oh.
training. This
Yeah.
is the worrying thing about those injuries is they're picking them up in training. Like if you
Yeah.
can't do realistically light training through an international break without getting injured, you've got problems.
You're made of paper.
Chelsea, if you look at, I don't know the exact numbers, but Chelsea's record for training injuries over the last 2-3 seasons could be up there as the worst in the league. I barely remember players getting injured in a game rather than players getting injured through training. And just going missing.
By the way, depending on how bad the injury is, if the injury takes him into the summer, then you'll not be able to shift him more.
That's
time.
exactly that's the thing I was going to say to that is it depends on his availability on whether or not we can put him into negotiations or the discussions with clubs, because no one's going to buy him with his record at the moment, and if they do, it'll
He's
be
got
for
to
a
be up there as
huge,
one of the
huge
worst signings of
discount.
recent years.
How much
Just
was
for
he?
the
Well, that'd be
80 million?
even
amount spent
worse.
on him.
Was he
It
80
depends
million?
because when he's
Worse.
played, he's been good, but it's the injury due diligence checks that obviously weren't there, because it's not like he didn't have a negative injury history at Leicester. He had 2 injuries at Leicester that were pretty bad. I think he signed injured. You're taking a huge risk to pay that amount of money on it, but it wouldn't be the first sign in that period of time for Chelsea that's not gone well.
80 million euros on a guy who's
Yeah.
played less than 38 games.
Yeah, Tom, I don't disagree. I think you can see the ability and the talent when he's fit, but
La,
unfortunately,
La,
it's just not
but
enough.
Lavia's played 628 minutes total in 2
Yeah,
years.
Do you know why
Lavia's
Lavia's
just
injury is
really bad.
worse? In my opinion, do you know why Lavia's injury is worse? And I
Because
said
he's
that
more-
yesterday.
Probably because you think he's more key to Chelsea having success.
Exactly, because
I
Lavia
don't
is
know
so
if that's true,
unique.
by the way. I think Wesley Fofana is incredibly important.
But you
for
can
us.
replace with the difference is the manager can build a backline without Wesley Fofana. You can
To
get
be
a
fair,
replacement.
Chalobah had a really good game, actually. He
Yeah.
did have a good game as
For
well.
Lavia, because he's so unique, you can build a system having Lavia and Caicedo or Enzo Fernandez or Palmer or whatever. The problem, because of Lavia's absence, you have built a system that doesn't rely on Lavia. Now he comes back, he doesn't fit the system because we already built the
I've got
system.
to raise this point, right? When Lavia came back into the side, Caicedo obviously was the player to make way in terms of position in the midfield. He went to an inverted fullback role.
Yeah.
I think Caicedo's been unbelievable for Chelsea. If he wins Player of the Season, wouldn't be surprised. I actually don't think there's this huge need for Lavia to come back into the team with how the midfield's been
It's
functioning.
exactly what I'm thinking about, Dan,
Yeah.
because you built a system that makes Lavia is not there.
He's just going to play
And-
the same role as what Caicedo's playing right now.
Yeah, that's the problem. Like
He's a great
Fofana's
player, by the way.
replaceable.
He's a great player. And maybe you switch to 3 in midfield and change it up somewhere else. But yeah, for me, being that unavailable is a huge issue. And I think, look, if Chelsea were to cut their losses with those 2 players, I wouldn't be shocked, especially with the rumours that we've signed Eusego from, I think, one of the Spanish sides on loan or a Portuguese team. And
Sporting.
obviously
Got
other
him from
midfielders.
Sporting.
like
That's
Can
the
I
Andre
Can I
Santos
say
might be
something
coming
about
back as
this?
well. Yeah, exactly.
Here's the thing, to be honest. I am never going to talk about a Chelsea loanee again until I see them play. I've heard that so many times. Like, this player is on loan, he's going to come and kill it. Then they come in, don't play, Chelsea loaned him or sell him. I've heard this about Shoko make. I do watch the French league, bro. I do watch the French league, right? Andre Santos might be killing it in the French league. Chelsea ownership might have a completely different plans for this guy.
Like, you can't tell me, Mo, that if an offer comes in for 60 million from PSG or something for Santos, Chelsea won't go, yeah.
I don't know, because I haven't watched him then.
They'll sell him in a heartbeat, because every single asset at Chelsea is saleable. Because we'd be down 70 million this season on account, financial year, if it wasn't for selling the women's team. So we're still making a loss every single season. Chelsea, at this moment in time, have spent so much money and are paying so much that every single asset that they own at the right price is saleable. People won't like that, but unfortunately it's true. And eventually we're going to run out of assets that demand huge amount of money to sell to ourselves and holding companies. Because you can't sell the women's team every season. So you have to start selling players.
You'll find a way to.
Yeah, you're just
Rory, you made a joke the other day about selling a pen. But yeah, do you know what? Like, it wouldn't surprise me if we start selling like gardening.
You start renting your training ground.
Yeah.
Like twice a week or something after the training.
That'll be something that goes if it gets bad. They'll sell the training grounds.
Maybe do a league there, like they organize a league where people pay money to play at Stamford Bridge, like after the games or something.
To be fair, I think we had this conversation like 6 months ago where we figured out the only part that Chelsea own that can't be sold is the grass at the pitch.
Yeah. Is the
so like clearly we'll own everything except the grass which the football.
Yes, so actually, right. Just on that really quickly, but there was a press conference the other day with the Chelsea pitch owners, and someone asked, "What are you doing to protect a batch buy of shares in case Blueco or Clearlake attempt to buy up all the pitch owner shares and then vote in favour of moving stadium?"
The amount of corporate espionage just because fucking Chelsea overspent on Fofana and Lavy is mental, you know.
Yeah. No, it's crazy.
It is crazy.
On the pitch, by the way, in terms of next season, no way did Chelsea get Champions League football with the current squad that they have.
Who survives? Last thing, who survives?
What do you mean?
For you, starting 11 next season, who would you want to see in the starting 11 next season?
I want to see Robert Sanchez.
Yeah,
a lot of joy.
Okay, he doesn't. I think one or two of the centre backs might miss out. I think probably one or two wingers will disappear, and I think there'll be a different striker in there as well.
So five players must come in.
Yeah, probably three to five would be needed for Chelsea to have probably a concrete shot at getting Champions League football. And depending on how Maresca finishes the season, that will be one with like a little asterisk next to it as well.
Well, we'll see how it goes. But listen, let us know in the comments what you guys think as well. Hit that like button. Let's get to 200 likes now. The next target. Gabriel is injured.
Yep.
Cannot get worse.
Third hamstring surgery of the season.
Yep.
So who's that now? Saka, Havertz, Gabriel.
Saka, Havertz, Gabriel, and Martinelli missed like 6 weeks of a hamstring as well.
Oh yeah, Martinelli.
Havertz is a more unique situation to the others.
What was Ben White's injury?
Yeah. Ben White's is his knee. So he'd been playing through this knee issue for a long time, basically, because we didn't have anyone else because Timber did his ACL and all of it. So he's playing through it. So basically, there's just like shitloads of debris and stuff in his knee. So they did surgery to fish a lot of it out, but it seems like maybe they didn't get all of it or something.
What is it? It's cartilage.
Yeah, it's just cartilage. And
wow.
It's not ideal.
He sacrificed his knee for a second place finish. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, pretty much. And
he needs to get on the stem cells. I think that's what they say for cartilage.
So,
I'm gonna read you what Arteta said. But first, high wages equal points. How long until Chelsea Spurs fall behind the clubs with ambitious owners? Neither pay top wages. Forest Villa, Newcastle, Everton, new owners.
Yeah, but there's a balance.
It's important. High wages just don't guarantee. It's got to be the right recruitments as well.
Yeah, but also there's a balance where like Villa, for example, I think like 93% of their entire revenue is taken up by their wage bill. So when it comes to then PSR and all of that sort of stuff, that especially with that, I think it's coming down now to like 70%. You can only spend in total 70% of your revenue. and Villa spend 93% of their revenue on wages alone at the moment. So, like, there's a long term, there's a balance to be had, and Villa are probably going to have to sell again this summer.
We're gonna speak about the Real Madrid game and the injury of Gabriel and what it means and hooker. But let me read you what I read this morning about Mikel Arteta when he said it's been like this the whole season. Martinelli missing 3 months, Saka 4 months, Havertz 4 months, Jesus almost the whole season. How we have managed to be where we are with all these injuries. Basically, he's saying we should not have been second. We're in the quarterfinal of the Champions
My
League.
heart breaks for him. It really does.
It gives him an excuse, I think, this season, 100%.
It does.
Yeah.
It does, but people don't want to hear it.
Unless you could argue as an Arsenal fan, they're on the manager. That's the only thing I think where Arsenal fans might find a way to get at Arteta, because people love to twist.
Yeah, I mean, I do think the pile on the manager about some of the injuries is a bit like it's not.
Bro, they blamed him for the Gabriel injury. They said you shouldn't have played him after the rest. What? It's the opposite.
The Gabriel
Rory,
one, the only one that I can look at Arteta and go, I think that was on you. That was Saka, because he had one early there, and he had Sterling there, and he didn't have to bring him on in certain games in the cup that he brought him on. The other two, Havertz, he couldn't take him out for anyone because he only had 3 attackers. And the Gabriel one, not a single Arsenal fan I know whose opinion I actually value, not terrific Tomiyasu on Twitter, sat there and went, you know what, I don't want Gabriel playing against Fulham. They all wanted Gabriel and Saliba playing because you want your best players playing, especially after an international break, so they can get back up to speed. It's just unfortunate that his hamstring went at that point.
Yeah, I think even the Havertz one was very different anyway. The Havertz one was more like, do you remember the Tierney's one at the Euros last summer, where he stepped really like awkwardly, and it was that. So Havertz basically had something like that, which is just could happen to anyone. And then the Gabriel one, like, yeah, I think it's just bad luck. Like, he realistically, he'd barely done anything in the game because our centre-backs don't have to actually run that much. And then all of a sudden, however, like 10 minutes in or whatever it was, 10, 15 minutes in, suddenly Adama Traore's in behind him. And he did something that you rarely actually see Gabriel do, which is put his head down and sprint. Like, I can't think of many times where I see Gabriel actually have to sprint. And he puts his head down and it goes. So it's unlucky. I think, the Saka one we could probably have managed a bit better. But other than that, it's just, I think Arteta's right as well in terms of like the fact that we've managed to keep ourselves, and not even just second, but second quite comfortably compared to the people behind us, despite the injuries that we've had. I don't think he even mentioned like Ben White missing the whole season pretty much, Ødegaard missing months, Marino missing the first 2 months with that shoulder thing that he did in the first training session. Calafiori's had 2 different 6-week injuries. Tomiyasu's missed the entire season. Like, the list has been pretty much endless. Mentally, insanely, pretty much the only significant player who hasn't picked up an injury this season is Thomas Partey. Well, no, Saliba, but Thomas Partey. Right. He was like our most injury-prone player.
Oh,
no, as in,
yeah.
But the Thomas Partey, if you were to say it, yeah.
Who will get injured this season on a bingo card for Arsenal?
But they are.
Like,
Saliba, Partey, and Rice are the only 3 first, other than Raya, the only 3 outfield players that haven't had any sort of significant
Partey's just been playing for a contract.
The funny thing is, even with like all those, like I know that you've said a lot of those injuries with Arsenal. I think even if they had Saka for, I don't know, how long is he out for? 10 weeks?
4 months.
I think if 4
was out for 3 months, 3.5 months.
3.5 months. But
like, since mid-December to the beginning of April.
If he had been fit, I think, like, even I know all the other injuries, just if Saka was fit, I think Arsenal will be pretty much in touching distance of Liverpool right now. That's like,
I think we'd be within 6 points.
Yeah, within the impact, but like six points with 8 games to go is definitely manageable. Do you know what I mean? And we're coming to Anfield. Do you know what I mean? I think that's how big of an impact he has, even with all the other injuries. Yeah. So I think next season, and I think obviously Salah's had an unbelievable season. I think that's the difference. Like, Salah's been fit for the whole season. He's been unbelievable. Saka's obviously missed half.
Yeah. I think that's it. When people say, and to be fair, like when people say that Arsenal players that Arteta's overplayed Arsenal players, and that's what's caused all the injuries, like the data just doesn't support that. If you look at City, if you look at Liverpool, they all use the same kind of 7, 8, 9 players for 80 to 100% of the minutes. Then there's the next group down where they've got like 5 or 6, kind of 13 squad members in total that you rotate in and out for injuries. And then, and it's the same for all of them. So I don't really, but, I saw some people complaining that Gabriel played in the 7-1, in the second leg against PSV after we beat them 7-1. But it was like in that game, he rested Saliba, he rested Timber, he rested Calafiori, who was only just coming back from an injury. Like, Tomiyasu's out injured anyway. Like,
someone has to play.
Yeah. Like, so someone
has Gabriel had reoccurring hamstring injuries as well, or is this just
he's usually very fit?
Yeah, he's never injured his hamstring. I checked.
That's literally what I'm pretty sure we looked at his record as well for injuries. It's really good, like his history.
Yeah. So he missed 3 games in December with just like general muscle fatigue.
Right.
Which was when Kivior came in. It's the only time Kivior's played at left centre back this season. But no, he's never had any sort of proper injury. So
the only way it can be on a manager is if prior to the game the player notify, or the medical staff notify the manager that the player might have a knock, or he's struggling, or he's got a feeling in his hamstring, and the manager decides to play him and push him further than he probably should have. Then I think you can blame it on
Gabriel. Gabriel, because he got suspended from the second Brazil game, from the first game of the international break, he flew home halfway through the international break and had a bit of a rest. So. Yeah.
It's also not like he had the other options sort of
over his career. He's never injured his hamstring ever.
Timber's injured, and White's
injured. It's a freak accident.
A lot of the players that would play and can't play.
Yeah, and this has been the other annoying thing with the injuries is that they've come in clusters of the same position. So we lose Havertz, Martinelli, Saka, and Jesus all at the same time, and now we've lost possibly White, Timber, Calafiori, Tomiyasu, and Gabriel all at the same time.
Rory, is there an issue that if they're coming in the same position, and I'm just sort of playing devil's advocate here, that's the requirements of that position in Arteta's system are the root cause for that injury to happen, or injuries to happen? Can you see that as an because I feel like the scrutiny is going to come. Yeah, 2 seconds. I feel like the scrutiny is going to come on Arteta here because there's been 3 hamstring injuries. Arsenal have got so many players in like those surgery photos this season. Surely people are going to start trying to force an agenda here that it's the manager's systematic approach that could be causing these injuries. Like, do you see any patterns?
Not really. We've had injuries in pretty much every position. White at right back, Timber as a right centre back, Gabriel as a left centre back, Calafiori as a left back, Partey through most of his career at Arsenal as a central midfielder. Like the entire front line. There's an argument that the issue is the general level of intensity in the Premier League has gone through the roof in the last 5 years. The number of hamstring injuries, on average, so there have been now 120 hamstring injuries in the Premier League this season. That means on average, we've had 4 hamstring injuries per game week in the Premier League, which is just insane. And those hamstring injuries themselves are becoming more significant. So I saw a thing that it's gone from 40% of hamstring injuries would keep you out for more than a month to 60% of hamstring injuries are keeping you out for more than a month. So where it used to be like someone would get a hamstring, you go, oh, they'll be out for 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah,
now it's like 4 to 6 weeks, or they're having surgery and they're out for 3 months.
I feel like surgery is now the optimal approach to recovery with hamstring injuries. I feel like there's a period of time where we'll let it heal naturally, but now it's like straight on the table operation.
Actually, no, it's 3rd degree only. So basically, if you have a 3rd degree hamstring injury, that means the complete tear, the muscle is
complete tear.
The problem is back in the days, this didn't happen that often, having a grade 3 hamstring injury. Now, it is more often, as Rory says. Normally, it would have been a grade 1 or a grade 2 where you can just heal it by physical therapy, removing the scar tissue. Now, you need to reconnect the muscle. It won't reconnect by itself.
No, so I was actually speaking to someone who's like worked within Premier League as a physio within the Premier League. He was saying actually, now they are opting for surgery way more than they used to for the same type of even in the last 5 years. He said, firstly, the scans are insanely more accurate, or they can see a lot more in the scans now. And so they started realizing a lot of these old hamstring injuries that they didn't do surgery on, there was still a lot of scar tissue left. So now they're opting. So like Saka, as an example, previously, midway through a season, Saka would have had a 10-week recovery. They wouldn't have done surgery. They'd have brought him back in 10 weeks, but he'd have been far more susceptible to it happening again. Whereas now they're
Reece James.
Reece James. Whereas now they're like, And if you go way further back, like Michael Owen fucking absolutely ripped his hamstring and they didn't even do surgery. But now they're like, you're just better off taking an extra month, having the surgery. And the way he explained it, he was like, if you just slice through your forearm now and you had a cut there, he was like, if you immediately stitch it up now, you'll probably not have much of a scar there. Whereas if you just leave it to heal by itself, you'll have a scar there. Like, it kind of is that simple. It's just far more effective to have this.
It's funny though, because I know that they still do surgery on ACLs, but some clubs are trying to move away from doing surgeries on the ACLs and trying to let them heal a bit more naturally. So it's funny to see the way that it's changed a little bit in terms of dynamics.
I think the proof's in the pudding, though, isn't it? With hamstrings, I think they've seen like like exactly what Rory's been saying. The issue is that if you allow it to keep reoccurring, the hamstring just gets weaker and weaker. They fix it earlier, keeps it stronger. Apparently, I can't remember which player it is. One of the players that does a podcast now was saying about they got a hamstring injury, didn't realize how bad it was, and they basically had a grade 3. It was completely detached and straight ripped through. And apparently, they watched the operation happen on the camera, and they like dig out the scar tissue out of the hamstring fibers. It's like a pretty rough injury to get, I think.
You saw Pedro Neto tore both of his hamstrings last year, and
look at him. To be fair, this season he looks like he's got no doubt in them whatsoever.
Yeah, exactly. So,
which I think is a massive thing. If you know there's a slight doubt in your mind that your hamstring's weak or it could go, or you're susceptible to it, having the surgery to remove the doubt, I think, can be incredibly good going forwards for the player and their mindset.
Yeah. Whereas
Don't
De Bruyne
forget,
decided to play through his, and
we lost Sterling for the whole year. Yeah, he was injured for the whole year. So,
who's Sterling going to go to next year?
He would have got game time at Chelsea last night.
Is he out of contract at the end of this season for Chelsea?
Nope.
He has 1 year left.
He can't be, can he? We haven't had him 5 years.
He might have 2 years left.
2 years.
I reckon
5-year deal.
Maybe Atleti Fact might take him.
5-year deal in 2022.
Yeah,
so 2025. He'll be 3 years into a 5-year deal.
Yeah,
he's going to sit on that contract. Put
down
down 3 around a week.
Yeah.
No. Contract expires in 2025, in May 31st, 2025.
Yes, that's the loan contract.
That's his loan with us.
Yeah,
no. Yeah, I just checked. Okay, I just didn't go down. I didn't go down the page.
I was praying that was true, votes. You know,
I went down to only contract expires, and then now I see the actual contract expires in 2027. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
right.
So that's worth.
I mean, I'm just thinking like
times. Basically,
Al-Ittihad aren't going to take him. Al-Ittihad are pretty stocked up top.
Bro, he's so washed.
Al-Hilal, they don't have the space.
So he's basically still owed 35 million quid in wages for that final 2 years.
And by the way, he's not even that good on a PR level for Saudi Arabia to take him. He doesn't make them any money. Nobody's buying. With all due respect to Raheem Sterling, nobody's buying Raheem Sterling shirts. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think
has ruined his value?
Do you think with like obviously you think it's Sterling and obviously how he came out of the scene so young and he played so many games? Do you think there's like a similarity between like him and Saka in terms of like playing so much at such a young age that when you get to like 29, it's kind of the opposite with like Salah. Like Salah didn't play exactly.
Rooney.
Didn't play as many games. Exactly. There's a lot of examples, but didn't play as many high intensity games, say in the Premier League at such a young age. And now Salah is obviously playing better when he's older. Do you think it might be a case of Saka at 28, 29, 30 might actually start to decline from that point onwards? I think it is a possibility.
Miles on the clock at a young age seems to be quite damaging, to be fair.
Especially for attackers.
Yeah.
The only difference I hope anyway is that even compared to like 10 years ago when Sterling would have been at that age, the level of like science and everything behind the strength and conditioning and recovery and all of that is so extreme now that hopefully.
Did you ever watch the Channel 5 documentary of Brendan Rodgers and Liverpool when Sterling was there? Like, did you ever watch that?
No.
Tonight. Well, anyway, I remember on that Brendan Rodgers spoke about the recovery that players like Sterling have to have, and he was like, it's so different, and we found it now with the way that it should be going forwards, that they have to be treated in such a different way to the rest of the team, because he was like, his recovery takes so much longer, and I don't know whether that's followed suit all the way through his career or not.
Someone like Ronaldo kind of proved that you can have that longevity despite playing.
I suppose Ronaldo would be more the exception because, like, obviously what he's done, it's not normal.
He just turned his house into a science laboratory.
I mean,
exactly.
But even then, he's had to adapt his game because he got that
massively,
knee
meniscus
problem. in 2014, and then he's just had to change his game and stop being that winger and become more of that poacher and that striker who maybe is on the ball.
I think with someone like Sterling, pace is so key to his game that I feel like if you lose any amount of that, your game is drastically reduced.
That was the thing. Like his all-round game wasn't that good. Well, not wasn't that good. That's harsh. It was good, but it wasn't
developed
at the level that he was playing at for Man City, winning trophy. But that burst of pace, that's the biggest thing I think he's lost.
Well, you look at how he was involved in the build-up at City. He wasn't the guy playing the passes for City. He was the guy he was the guy making the runs to the back post or making the runs in behind.
He could lurk, and then within a second he'd be ahead of his defender.
Mm-hmm.
These days, you can almost see it on his face.
It was that Leicester game. He was trying to do what he done at City. He can't do it anymore.
Exactly. He goes to do something that he used to be able to do, and he just can't.
He was also incredibly strong for his physique as well, and I feel like that's just not a factor anymore. I feel like physically he doesn't dominate the battles he used to. He was always like renowned for that. His center of gravity was so effective in his game.
Yeah,
but
I'm not getting involved in this.
Keep an eye on Saka.
Involved in this. I'm silent.
That's fine. I think we're done on Sterling. Okay.
What about the Real Madrid game? What about any hope for that?
The only hope is that Real Madrid have actually got a few of their own issues. So Tchouaméni is suspended. Courtois was meant to be back from injury but isn't, and now Lunin's also injured. So they're talking about playing their third choice keeper at the weekend. Ferland Mendy is meant to be back from injury, but he's still not back from injury, which means they've got no left back. And normally they'd cover that with Camavinga. But if Tchouaméni's suspended, and I think Ceballos is injured as well, Camavinga might have to play midfield. But I don't know who they play at left back. So there's a chance. That's what I'm convinced of myself.
Rory, is there any news on their other issues as well around UEFA and disciplinary?
They got cleared of them. They got cleared.
Has that come out?
Got a fine.
Oh,
that's just.
That would have made it entertaining. I feel like it would have been an equal game with those off the table.
Yeah, after investigation, no Real Madrid players will face suspensions. Typical.
I think
if it was Arsenal, they'd all be suspended.
I think they have a chance, in terms of obviously Saka coming back and they can potentially get at Madrid. I just think going the other way. I think Arsenal have been so good defensively this year, but Gabriel getting injured now. They obviously, as you said, Rory, a lot of other injuries stacking up, and I just think Madrid going forward are just.
I actually don't think it's about Gabriel, Jamie. Arsenal would have had to defend in bulk. The problem is Calafiori, Timber, and Ben White not being fit. Yes, Gabriel provides a lot, but Arteta should have been able to put a block of defenders together, a system with Declan Rice and Thomas Partey. If he left Gabriel and Saliba by themselves, either way with these guys, he would have been torn apart anyway, right? So the problem is they don't have any center back fit.
Yeah, but it's like when you talk about you're in your big
see that's the problem.
When you're in your when you're playing against the best teams in football, you want to have your best players. And I know you're saying Gabriel, you can get a replacement in, but
Real Madrid don't have the best players as well, Jamie.
Yeah, but they're going to have Mbappe, they're going to have Vinny, they're going to have
got
Bellingham.
Bellingham.
They
might
have
four is fine.
Eder Militao out, Alaba out, Carvajal out. They don't have a right back.
But that's what I said. I go attacking wise, Arsenal might be able to get at them, but it's going the other way. It's that Arsenal obviously have a lot of injuries themselves, and it's you're putting Madrid's attack against Arsenal's attack, who this season hasn't been amazing. But Saka's obviously a little bit back, so that might help. But Madrid, if you're putting the two against one another, you're going to edge at Madrid.
I mean, if you're just looking at the team Madrid can put out, even with the injuries, keeper, I don't know. Courtois will probably just get injected to fuck with something to play. Right
back,
Madrid. Right back will be the Vasquez or Valverde.
Vasquez is on average.
Is Carvajal back yet?
No, he's out of the year.
Still gone.
Yeah,
Carvajal is not back.
Madrid probably won't tread the play, to be fair.
They can have him. The centre back would be Asensio and Rudiger. Yeah. Left back, Camavinga. Midfield wise, probably
Modric.
Bellingham and Modric with Brahim Diaz in the 10.
See, I think it'll be Vasquez. I think it'll be Vasquez right back, and then it'll be
or it could be Vasquez, Valverde, Modric, and Bellingham.
Valverde, Modric, and Bellingham.
Yeah, which is still unbelievable.
I'm just thinking because against Atleti in the Champions League first leg, I'm pretty sure he started Brahim Diaz. He did,
I don't.
but that was
Yeah, he did.
because
He scored a great goal.
yeah, because Bellingham was suspended for that game. He started Brahim Diaz in the Bellingham role. That's why I think he could end up doing a little bit of a rejig to get Valverde to right back because he doesn't trust Vasquez. Camavinga to left back to deal with Saka, and then Modric. Bellingham does the running of Modric that he can't do, and then Brahim Diaz in the 10 or floating around, whatever he does. At the end of the day, the fact is they've got the front three against a weakened Arsenal defence. Mbappe, Saliba's going to have to be doing an awful lot of work against Vinny, Rodrigo, and Mbappe.
So I don't think so. I don't think so, Dom. I don't think that anyone should do an individual work. Arsenal should never have a one-on-one battle in this game. Never.
But they will.
It will happen once or twice. Yes, that is just the nature of how football works. But Arsenal normally, against big teams, against top six, they don't play the same way they play against the smaller teams. They don't leave themselves vulnerable at the back. So they defend in bulk. That means
can you rely on that? Yeah, but can you rely on that defense? Like I get them playing like that when they've got the full strength defense because it's very hard to break down a White, Saliba, Gabriel, Timber, Calafiori, whatever. They're all very good defenders. But when Arsenal are trying to defend against Real Madrid in the box and it's
not the box, Tom, but like it's not the box. But for example, you don't leave Saka. You don't have Odegaard pressing from the front. You don't have Martinelli pressing. You don't have Mikel Merino pressing. You opt to choose to have everyone behind the midfield. You're going to get to
the point that I'm getting to, which is where if you're not trying to impose yourselves on Real Madrid, they will slowly just gain yards on you and push you back and back and back until eventually you are doing what I'm saying you're doing, which is camping
box defending.
And if they're doing box defending, Rory can tell me who's playing right back. I don't know because Timber went off injured.
I actually think they get frustrated, Real Madrid. I think it's the other way around. Real Madrid don't have the patience of the other teams. Real Madrid are more of an adventurous team. Like Vinny Jr., if they don't give him the ball and they keep passing the ball, Vinny Jr. will just take the ball and try to dribble 3-4 guys.
Yeah, but he can't do that. Yeah. He can't. That's what I mean. He can't do that. He can't pick up the ball and dribble 3-4 guys.
I think to be honest with you, I think if Timber plays, I think he can stop Vinny Jr.
And then the other defenders can't stop Mbappe or Rodrigo.
Yeah,
or
exactly.
Valverde coming on or Modric dictating the tempo of a game.
They've too much quality in too many positions. Like if you're saying, all right, don't leave Saliba and Mbappe when we won, so you go up and help and cover Saliba. Then it's like, all right, we pass the ball out to Vinny and he's 1-on-1, or Rodrigo and he's 1-on-1. They have too much quality in so many different positions that like. I know what you're saying. You don't want to leave them in those positions, but it will inevitably happen, and that's when
Arsenal played plenty of 90. Arsenal played plenty of 90 minutes without leaving any one-on-one battles. That's why we said that Arteta have turned into a pragmatic.
One-on-one battles, but they win them, Mo. That's Arsenal win
only against smaller teams. They don't do this against bigger teams.
But against Real Madrid, I'm as good as Arsenal. Arsenal could put in a fantastic performance.
Yep.
The quality of Real Madrid will mean that at one point in this 90 minutes, Mbappe will have a one-on-one situation against Kivior. And I'm not saying that Saliba won't be able to get back and cover, but Mbappe will get, at one point in time across this 90 minutes, he will get a chance to run 1v1 at Kivior. He'll position himself to do that. And this is what...
Kivior no chance. Kivior no chance. Timber and White have to be fit. We should establish this.
I don't think White will be.
And even if he is,
we obviously see where Real Madrid's strengths are, right? And if Arsenal do win those battles, then they put themselves in a position for something to happen.
Also, I think also on the counter attack, you would fancy Saka to get something going against the Mendy or the other guy.
This is the thing. I think the biggest battle is the midfield battle, because the midfield battle is where you can stop Real Madrid getting it to their front foot, and if you can do that for enough of the game, you'll nullify them a lot. It's what Atletico Madrid did. But I do look at it going the other way, going, well, you know what? If you're playing, Camavinga at left back, great player, but not like a brilliant left back. And then you've got Modric, and then you've got Vinny Jr. probably not doing the sort of defensive work that most wingers do against. And then you've got Odegaard, Saka.
Even Martinelli in transition, Rory, is a huge asset.
But that's why I think that you'll see it. I think the more I think about it, the more I think he might not start Rodrigo. And I think he might go for, the way he defended against Atleti in the first leg when Mbappe and Vinny were actually trying in that 4-4-2. but
Maybe.
you'll have Valverde helping
And he
out.
did that because he didn't have Bellingham.
Yeah, but Bellingham can go on the left if needs be, or he can play Diaz and have Bellingham in the middle. And he'll just be
Possibly.
trying to double up out wide. So we'd have Valverde and Vasquez together. So Valverde can help out Vasquez, and Diaz and Camavinga together, so Diaz can help out there. And hope, not necessarily hope, but gamble on the fact that maybe Arsenal's midfield creativity isn't going to be there necessarily. The thing for me, and I know it's going to sound weird, the thing for me that is swinging this in Madrid's favour in my eyes is the fact that he's probably going to have to play Modric for more than, like, from the start. And I think Modric in these big European games, especially against a midfield like Arsenal's, which wants to physically outdo you, Modric is just too cute, too smart, and he'll break that press a couple times. And I think that's where Real Madrid will get the joy. Bellingham can match the physicality.
How long he can sustain it for, though, Tom.
Yeah,
I think we'll target
I
him.
think the problem, he'll tire, and they don't necessarily have someone on the bench then because of all the injuries. So that would be probably where they could hit them. It'll be interesting to see, look. But both teams,
it's gonna be a good game.
With the injuries.
I don't think it'll be a walkover. Like, I don't. People are obviously saying like Madrid will be too much on art, like obviously the pedigree and stuff. But I think Arsenal, obviously with Saka back, Saka being back is obviously huge. It's got to be a very close game. It won't be like a walkover for Madrid. They'll have to be on it.
Yeah, people think it's going to be a 2+ goal margins in both games.
Yeah. If you look at Madrid's history in the Champions League over the last few years, they give away chances to every team they play. So there'll be options and opportunities for Arsenal to take advantage in those situations.
The issue is they still win.
Exactly right.
The problem is Arsenal are not going to pass the Real Madrid judge.
They just find a way.
I watched in the last round Atletico Madrid score enough penalties to go through to sudden death in a penalty shootout, and it didn't count because Julian Alvarez double touched the ball, and VAR had to step in for it. Honest to God, I'm telling you, unless Arsenal somehow put 4 past Real Madrid in the first leg, there will be some reason why Real Madrid win that second leg at the Bernabeu.
Yeah, because Tom's saying it'll take 4 goals. I think Chelsea.
If Arsenal win by 2+ goal margins, they should be favourites to go through.
I think Arsenal are home in the second leg, no?
No. Because if Arsenal win by 2+ goal margin, that only proves one thing: the Arsenal defense can stop Real Madrid. Atletico Madrid did in the Bernabeu.
Yeah, but that's Atletico
Madrid. You know, a derby, it's just different, isn't it?
Do people think Atletico Madrid are stronger than Arsenal defensively?
Yes,
absolutely not.
Yeah, this season they are.
They're definitely more. Like I think they only conceded like 20 goals or something in the league.
Madrid, the defense Atletico Madrid put out against Real Madrid in the Champions League is stronger than the defense I think Arsenal are going to be able to put out against Real Madrid.
Depending on who's fit, though.
Yeah, like, if it was Gabriel, White, and Timber, then maybe I'm going, oh, it's tight. But it's the fact that it's Maslow, Skelly, Kivior, Saliba, and
that's finished. That's finished.
A tough, a barely fit Timber.
In the Champions League phase, Arsenal conceded 3 goals. Atletico Madrid conceded 12 goals. So they conceded 4 times as many goals.
In the Champions League has been like not great.
We're in the Champions League though.
No, I know that, but that's what I'm saying. Defensively, actually, this season they've been a better side than Arsenal. I'd say in league form.
They conceded 23 in the league. Atleti Arsenal conceded 25.
Yeah. Okay. So pretty similar.
I think Arsenal have a really good defensively team, but I just think Madrid or Atletico Madrid, like in terms of their mentality and like how they want to defend, Arsenal maybe are more of a team that want to get forward. You know what I mean? Whereas like Atleti be like, right, if we win 1-0,
Atleti this season have actually been really interesting going forward.
Yeah, they changed it up, didn't they? They've been really committed.
They played with a lot of fluidity. Yeah. I think the thing with Atleti is just it's the Madrid derby, and they know they can't beat Real Madrid playing this free-flowing football. Even though across the 2 legs they were the better team, and they created the better chances, and Courtois made some good saves and this, that, and the other. That it's the mentality that Simeone puts in those players for the Madrid derby.
They were literally like Atletico Madrid fans crying at the end of that game. Like they didn't know what to do.
I'd cry if we'd got through and then all of a sudden VAR said, "Hold on a minute, your players double touched the penalty here. We're gonna have to stop that." I'd stop. You wouldn't see me on the show again. Honestly, I've never seen anything like it. I think it's worse though. The worst part is the fact that half the fans in the crowd didn't know because it wasn't announced. So they're all sitting there going, oh my god, come on, if we score this one, we're going to sudden death. And then fucking Rudiger's running off.
Is there more news, Rory, or something? Is there more news, Rory?
Nah, someone said Ceballos was fit. I was just seeing if that was true or not.
I don't think Ceballos matters that much. He's
Well, I think
all
it's
right.
just
He's
the fact
up
that-
against his former team here, Mo.
No, but I think because
Oh,
of
course.
because of the fact that Tchouaméni's suspended and then possibly Ferland Mendy's injured, it just leaves them with not very many midfield options. So
We'll see. We'll see. I think we'll know more on Monday evening, right? By Arteta's press conference, who's fit and who's not. And we'll know who travels from Madrid to
for
Arsenal.
for Arsenal, depending on injuries, hoping we don't pick up any more injuries against Everton, Timber will be fit. Calafiori will not be fit.
Would you put a strong team? I don't know.
What, against Everton?
Yeah? Or you
No.
just don't care about the game? No. Don't.
I know, literally.
Nice and weak team. Drop
I'm
2 more
gonna
points.
get me fucking God of what right
I
now.
couldn't care less about the Everton game. But the thing is, even then, because I put a team out that I'd use, and it's like you still have to play Saliba because there's literally just no other
There's
alternative.
no one.
You just play someone like from the academy or something, like someone just anyone.
Well, we've
Well,
got
can
one
I ask you
academy
guys
right
something?
back.
Can you play anyone from the academy, even if they're not registered with the team?
No, they have to be. They have to be registered in the squad, don't they?
No, they don't.
No,
Academy
not
players
on
don't have
there.
to.
Yeah.
So
No,
that is someone asked me
it's
that question. I
under
didn't know
certain
the answer. Because
Yeah.
in Italy, they need their name need to be read, and you have certain number you can
Yeah,
register.
but so you have like an
somebody-
A and a B.
Yes.
thing, right?
No, I don't even think that's it. I think the Premier League it's just a case of if you've been trained at a club
In the
for 3
academy.
years,
Yeah.
if you've been at a club and you're under the age of if you've been at a club for 3 years and you're under the age of 21, you don't need to be registered. You can just play.
Okay,
Whenever.
so you can play. Okay, good. So
So
also
the-
can play a youngster or something.
But the other thing I would say is I probably want to start Saliba and Kivior next to each other in the game just so that
Yeah,
they
fair.
can get used to playing with each other again.
Imagine one of them getting
Also, I would feel sorry
Imagine
for
they
any
play in
kid
that,
that has
bro.
to go against
You know the
Beto.
problem. You know what the different the danger of this. If you start Kivior and Saliba and you concede a couple of goals, their confidence is shattered. It's
We're
gone.
against Everton. We're against Everton. We're not gonna
Do you know what
concede.
though? It's a good test though, Mo, isn't it? If you flip it on its head, because if they do concede goals, you can see where the goals came from. You might be able to work it out what you need to address.
Well,
them.
if we're conceding goals against Beto, then I'm not really hopeful for.
Do you know
him
what? Beto physically had Van Dijk's pants down in that.
Oh,
Everton
give
Yeah,
it
yeah.
a rest.
In
Give
the
it a
first half,
rest.
in the
He
first half,
caused
he
him
was
problems
Good,
in both
good
games this
segue.
season.
Good segue.
Oh,
The
Van Dijs.
team that
Oh.
should have won against Liverpool
They shouldn't
in
have
the
won.
Merseyside derby.
They shouldn't have won.
Yeah. They hit the
Waffle.
post. You scored an offside goal. Well, that's what Tarkovsky said.
They should have been
Come
down
on.
to 10 men in the 10th minute.
Tarkowski stayed on, then he made a mistake, and he's like, "Well, it was an offside goal." Mate, you shouldn't have even been there to bleed and play the ball. Fuck's sake.
Fucking hell. Paul McAllister nearly had his legs sheared off in two, but we're sitting there going, you know what? I feel for Everton a bit.
He did win the ball though. He did win the ball.
Fucking hell. You know what?
Game's gone soft, mate.
The Millwall keeper won
Game's
the
gone
ball
soft.
against Arteta.
Bar is helping Liverpool. It's simple.
What's
Bar
Tom
is
saying?
helping Liverpool.
I was just saying that the Millwall keeper won the ball against Mateta.
Yeah.
So, if that's the line we're drawing now, you know.
But it's
can't
high
wait to
foot
see.
though, wasn't it? His foot was technically high, which is obviously.
It's in
No, but like
endangering an opponent. I can't lie. I'd say a leg breaker is
why.
endangering an
You
opponent.
can see why in that period of like you can see why the ref has not given a red card there in terms of how he interprets the rules.
I
But
don't
actually, the
I
rules
was-
are
get the
wrong,
ref.
isn't it?
I don't get the ref necessarily. I think the ref should give it, but I can understand why he hasn't. The fact VAR hasn't,
Yeah.
with all the
I thi-
angles they get to see.
Was it because they gave him a yellow though, and then they were like, "We're not going to like change our decision"? Was that it?
VAR and cards is just completely blown
Yeah.
up. Like there was a yellow card given off of VAR last night, and I didn't think you could do that
Yeah.
in the Tottenham
No,
game.
I
So
didn't think
I'm
you
just
could do that.
completely lost with cards and VAR. I don't know what the ruling is anymore.
I was 100 yards away from it, and I was screaming a red card, and then looking at it back on the TV, I was like, how has that not been overturned or like not even been looked at in terms of like actually the intensity of the challenge?
referees in this country are shite.
I feel like we've seen that.
If Duncan Ferguson is sitting there on Sky Sports at halftime, Duncan Ferguson, one of the most violent footballers I've ever seen, coming out going, you know what, that's a definite red card. That I think it might just be a
But
red
this
card.
is-
Can I tell you? Sorry, Rory. Can I tell you guys the difference between how referees ref games in the UK? A couple of seasons ago, Romero did the same thing with Enzo Fernandez, and it was a straight red. And because his name is Romero, he was given a red card. Because this is Tarkovsky, he wasn't given a red card. This one is worse than Romero's one.
You know, Tarkowski's never got a red card in the Premier League
because he's flying into the tackle. I just watched it again. He's flying into the tackle.
Yeah, the issue with that logic is that Curtis Jones also got sent off for a similar one last. Was it last season? Season 4 against Spurs.
Yeah, we went down on his shin. No, what was I going to say there? The
issue with the refereeing is that like it frustrates the life out of me because I watch rugby, and in rugby, the difference between the way that the technology is used, right? That would simply be a case of the referee straight away would go, "I'm giving a yellow, but can we just have a quick look at it because it looked reckless, right? Let's just have a look at it." They pull it up on the screen. They'd have a conversation between each other that everyone could hear. And because the on-field referee doesn't have the list of rules in front of him, he would be relying on the VAR, the TMO in rugby. And the TMO would go through, and Carragher went through them on the halftime thing, right? Where it's like velocity, force, height. And they'd go through the checklist. And then between them, they'd go, yeah, it ticks that box. Therefore, it's a red card. Don't need to worry. Like, it does. Whereas not this. Well,
that system's so efficient, Rory, as well, isn't it?
Efficient. It's way better for the fans because the fans actually understand like how they're coming to the decisions. Yeah. You know for a fact that they're basing the decision on factual guidelines, not this.
It's not ambiguous.
We don't hear anything. We just see Paul Tierney looking at a VAR screen going, "Is it clear and obvious?"
Yeah.
Yes, but I'm still not going to do anything about it. Why? We'll never know.
Did you see the thing as well? What was it? Tarkowski's 64 yellow cards and never been sent off or something. Mad. And he loves doing that. He loves a fucking tough tackle.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, about that.
But you got to remember, we're the criminals because our goal was, despite being in the law onside, we all think it should be offside.
I mean, I think
we're the real crooks here.
It should be offside. That doesn't change the fact that it should be offside.
I agree, Mo. I agree, Mo, but the rules, you got to play by the rules, and the rules state he's not offside. The rules should be changed, but nothing was illegal.
He wouldn't have played the ball if freaking the guy was not there.
I mean, he wouldn't have been on the pitch to play the ball if the referee had done his job in the first half.
Ironically, if he'd not been on the pitch, the ball would have gone straight to Diaz, who would have been offside.
And it would have been offside.
I don't disagree with you, Mo. I think, logically, that goal should be offside. Tarkowski's only making that move because he knows Diaz is behind him.
Thank you.
By the rules of the game, he's not interfering. So until the rules get changed, we've done nothing wrong. But the rules are shit.
Is that because Diaz didn't make a movement for the ball that he was clarified?
Diaz's class is not interfering with play because he didn't directly affect the ball.
He didn't challenge for the ball, which is the difference.
But there was a case a couple of years ago when City played Villa and Mings and Bernardo Silva, the same thing happened, and City got the goal from it, and everyone at the time was going, "Oh, that shouldn't really count. No, Mings has only done what he's done because Bernardo Silva's there."
I remember that, yeah.
And I thought the rule got changed after that, but apparently it hasn't. So it is what it is. Look,
by the way, this is again. I watched it again. He's definitely affecting the play. He's 1 yard from him. He's definitely affecting the play.
He doesn't make a move.
But if Diaz isn't there,
but the rules aren't there. The rules don't say if you're within a 5 yard vicinity of the defender, you're affecting the play. The rules are you directly impacting the ball? No.
But then if
he doesn't touch the fucking ball.
But then
he's marking someone who's offside.
If, for example, Gravenberch, instead of passing the ball into Luis Diaz, Gravenberch takes a shot and it goes past Diaz and goes in, that would get ruled as offside, even though Diaz hadn't touched it or anything.
But then he'd make a movement to try and score.
If he's in the line of sight of the keeper.
If he's in the line of sight of the keeper, yes.
You'd say he doesn't need to challenge for the ball. But he doesn't need to challenge for the ball.
Though, isn't it? So Diaz isn't in Tarkowski's line of sight.
He's looking at him like this.
Tarkowski knows he's there. The line of sight.
Right, Mo, I'm sorry. The pass is not getting played and Tarkowski's like this.
No. Tom. I just watched it again before you get riled up. Easy. Tarkowski's standing like this. Diaz is to his right side. Let me just do this. Diaz is on his right side. He knows that pass is going to Diaz. He sees Diaz, so he goes to stop the ball from going to Diaz. He's not tackling the ball, not seeing Diaz. He's literally looking at Diaz before the ball is passed.
But the reason for
I'm not having it where Tarkowski... He's not. I've pulled up the moment where he's played the fucking pass.
Bro, if Diaz isn't there,
Tarkowski's not looking at Diaz. He's not in his line of sight.
No, but he knows he's there.
He knows he's there.
Shoulder.
He knows he's there, but that's irrelevant whether he's there or not. My only argument would be, well, the only argument is for the goalkeeper's
No. This is not the right angle. This is not the right angle. You're showing you're fraudulent, and I'm going to show the right angle. This is my time.
No, because I'm not showing whether he's offside or not. I am going for the angle where I'm going. The pass is played. Is Tarkowski looking at Luis Diaz? No, he's looking at the ball.
But the line of sight argument is that the reason that the line of sight is a thing is because the keeper can't dive until the ball has gone past the attacking player that's in the way, right? Because they can't commit to it because they don't know what's going to happen. So then you say it's impacted the goalkeeper's ability, it's impacted the goalkeeper's decision.
Rory,
you guys, we think Gravenberch is passing the ball here. Tarkowski is 1 yard away from Diaz. He's not looking at. He's not looking at Diaz, so he doesn't know that there is a red guard.
What you were saying. That wasn't what you were saying. I said the line of sight argument only works, which is why it's a fucking it's a what's it called? You know that stupid thing where paradox. The line of sight only works if Diaz is in his line of sight when the pass is played, but Diaz
is in his line of sight. If Diaz is in his line of sight, he wouldn't be offside.
Unless Tarkowski's a fucking owl with 270 peripheral vision, he can't be in his line of sight.
You can't tell me that. You are telling me that Tarkowski doesn't see a red player here if he's like.
I know Tarkowski knows Diaz is there, but I also know that with the way Tarkowski is looking, Diaz cannot be in his line of sight the moment the ball is passed, unless he's a fucking owl with 270-degree peripheral vision. The fact of the matter is, Tarkowski, if he knows he's offside, should let it go.
But he doesn't because he doesn't watch the line.
Because he can't check his shoulder in that.
He can't check the shoulder.
He's committing to an action that he has to make because he's aware of that player being there. As soon as Tarkowski makes that action, it activates that player because he was aware of him being there. That's how I'd view it.
Yeah.
I don't disagree that should be offside, but I'm also not going to sit here now and start planning on Mike Love for scoring a goal that's legal.
Oh, no, Liverpool have to play on, of course. You have to play on it. And that moment is so minimal. I mean, Diaz knows he's off. He's inactive until Tarkowski touches the ball, isn't he? He literally stood still.
Yeah.
So he
almost followed the right way.
Jota touches it again before he actually makes a move.
It's on the rule, isn't it? It's what you said.
The rule was followed the right way. The rule was followed the right way because there's one part of it when I was watching fucking Dermot Gallagher go through it, and the final
through that.
I know, but the final part of the rule says whether or not the defender was impacted by the offside player, and Dermot Gallagher's like, well, only Tarkowski will know if the way that he played the ball was because of Luis Diaz, and it's like we all know the way he's played the ball. He only does.
Is the rule not?
Yeah, he doesn't commit. He doesn't commit, and definitely doesn't go to ground to stop that ball being there. He makes an interception.
It's the thing not his ability to play the ball rather than just his ability to.
No, there's one that impacts their ability to play the ball. Is he impacting
his ability to play the ball? So like, if Diaz had touched them and stopped them from and pushed them to the ground, that I get it. But Diaz just sort of stands there.
Yeah, I can't remember the exact wording, but there's
ability.
No, but there's one part of it, the final part of it, that impacting the ability is one part, and then there's one part of it that's to do with basically impacting their decision. And that was where Dermot Gallagher was like, well, only he knows. And it's like, well,
you see that the difference could have been 10 points, and Arsenal would have had a chance to catch you.
The 4 rules are preventing an opponent from playing or being able to play the ball by clearly obstructing the opponent's line of vision. He's not doing that because he's not in the line of vision. And you can't be offside if you're in the line of vision of the defender. Challenging an opponent for the ball, he didn't do that. Clearly attempting to play a ball, which is close when this action impacts on opponents. He didn't attempt to play the ball. Making an obvious action, which clearly impacts on the ability of the opponent to play the ball. He didn't do that.
I think, if he hadn't made any sort of movement, as in to try and get the ball, then it obviously would have been clear. They would have been doing it offside. But like what you said, Rory, if it had been a shot and it was obstructing the line of vision, or if Diaz scored from say a rebound, then that's offside. But he didn't do any of the rules. Like,
the fact that a player views him as a viable option to pass to, though, in that moment, sort of makes him active, even though he stands still. I think that's the thing.
By the way, when the pass was made, he took 2 steps. He wasn't standing still. I'm just
Yeah, but-
assu- just
Right,
saying.
okay. fair. I
I
didn't-
took 2 steps. You know, fucking hell. He's not supposed to. You
The whole-
don't
For all we know, it could have been a
Tom,
shot. Like, for all we know, it could have been
the
a shot.
whole
We don't know what's
difference
going on
between
in
the two
Gravenberch's
players,
mind.
the whole difference between the two players is actually 2 steps. Like the whole distance is just 2 steps. Him taking 2 steps.
Mo, I'm sorry. We are not watching the same. The moment Gravenberch plays the ball, Diaz stands entirely still. So
Let
he
me
takes
show it.
1.5 step forward, which he's already taken.
He's gonna I'm demonetizing the video to show the goal that we're arguing about.
I want to see these
This is
2
cool.
steps which he's taken, which therefore ruined Tarkovsky. If anything, the steps that he takes are away from the pass.
He's finishing a step as the ball's played.
Thank you so much. Yes, that's
Oh,
and after there's another
oh,
movement.
He is. I've literally just watched
Irrational.
it.
You guys,
We're arguing about
if
steps.
anybody,
Just to-
if this is,
Just to
if we're,
explain
to be honest with you,
something, though,
if we are, sorry, Rory, if we're arguing that this is not offside because of the law, we all know, the 5 of us know that this should have been called off and it should have been offside. Everyone knows.
No, but I think
If
it's
the rule doesn't clearly state it, then it should.
But are we not being
Because we
ambiguous
know
about
it's
it? We're saying
offside.
we don't know. Like we're saying, yeah, fair enough. If it was a case of he was interfering with him, then it is offside. But we don't know whether he was or not. So VAR in that case aren't gonna intervene because they don't know whether it was impacting Tarkowski or not.
Because we know it impacts his decision. We know the way that he plays the ball. He only does that because Diaz is there. If you take Diaz out completely, he leaves it to run through to Pickford. Someone just said, but this is the difference, right? You'll Never Walk Alone said, just leave it for Pickford to pick it up. Why clear it? He has to do that because he doesn't know if Diaz is onside or not. So he can't leave it to go straight into Diaz and just hope that he's offside.
Yeah.
So he has to play it, which is why he lunges to play it. Because the 2 decisions he makes if Diaz isn't there is he either lets it run through to Pickford or he's got time to just take a touch and play it. Like he's not lunging to make a sort of block to stop it getting to Diaz in the way that he does.
His eyes are on the ball in that whole process as well. He's not once going to be able to check over his shoulder, otherwise he'll lose sight of where the ball could potentially go.
Yeah.
But just by the player
Ultimately-
standing there, he's causing
ultimately,
an issue for the defense.
Tarkowski should have been sent off in 10 minutes and Liverpool would have won.
He
the game.
also could have had an assist. It was
Yes.
a great pass
honest-
to Beto. I mean, it was millimeters on that offside.
All of
as
this,
well, really.
Liverpool should have been playing against the 10 men for 80 minutes and should have won the game.
I think we need to
2-0.
talk about the bigger issue that I've found from Liverpool playing Everton this season is that Van Dijk, in a generation and a bygone era, would have struggled and would have been nowhere near the level
we're
of player
not
that he's
doing
held.
this.
up.
Here we
Bollocks.
go. You're
not
such a
doing this,
wind up.
bollocks.
You're
Against,
such a wind
against
up.
players that can match him physically, he is
He's sacked.
not the same player. Not the same player.
It's not true.
He's sacking Beto as well.
Erling Haaland
true.
scored 1 goal against him in his entire career, and that's
I wouldn't
probably
even
the most
put
physically
Haaland
dominant
in.
striker of
Okay,
this era.
physically maybe, but I'm talking about players that were intent on having that physical battle for 90 minutes. I don't think Haaland is. I think Haaland's willing to sort of sit out of the play and be more of a fox in the box. I'm talking about players who would go there to have that physical. I think he'd struggle against Peter Crouch. I honestly do. I watch him in those moments where a player's going to press him, he's going to run him, he's going to turn him left and right. He can't cope with Beto. In both games I've seen this season,
He was fine in
against
the first
Beto.
game. It was Canate in the first game who couldn't deal with it.
Sure,
Beto was a problem for Van Dijk in the away game as well.
Sure, Drogba was just Beto, except he scored in finals. Like that's the only difference.
Drogba. Not
Is that what we're
saying. What are we doing here? 2010 Drogba was one of the best strikers I've ever seen in history. No, I genuinely, I think Van Dijk is.
It's
I
not
mean, I
true
don't
though.
know
Like
prior
he's played against loads of forwards. He's played against.
There's not
Mbappe,
too many. I actually
Ronaldo.
think there's not too many. Yeah, but they're not the same as Beto. Beto's of a striker.
Fucking
of
hell.
like a bygone
I tell you
era.
what,
What
Beto
level
was
are we putting
incredible for a
Beto
striker.
on
He's
here?
done
No,
fuck all for a year now.
You look at what Beto does.
Hold on, can I
without
make
his
sure then that you are speaking rationally? This is not
Okay, I am. Without
The rational age,
to make
Beto's
sure.
ability is nowhere near good enough. We can see that. He misses chances. He can't hit. I mean, he hit the post and managed to put one in the back of the net yesterday. But 9 times out of 10, he struggles. But physically and what he'll do to a defender is cause them issues. And I think there were players of a different era that would do that as well as having the technical ability to score goals. And I think Van Dijk struggles in that situation.
I think you have to put eras into perspective though. Like teams nowadays, and especially with the way Liverpool played in Liverpool's era, they play a lot more where it's just like Kanate and Van Dijk. I'm not saying that I'm not saying against Beto in example, but like I think if you had to put Van Dijk in an era with like say beside
With runners in behind.
not runners in
think
behind,
he
but like
struggled.
teams sat back a lot more than they did in terms
Can you
of.
imagine Van Dijk against Prime Torres? Like he's struggling. He's
He'd
struggling.
be
With
fine
what I've
against
seen.
Torres.
I think he'd be
He
fine
is.
against Torres.
But you are missing that. But
Good.
Van
Rooney,
Dijk grew up in a different era. Dan, if John Terry was playing in this era, he would look.
John Terry copes in this era without.
Yeah, I think
don't
John
get me
Terry-
wrong,
No, I think John
Hold on,
Terry-
let me
in this era,
can I finish the
But I
point?
think John Terry copes just as
John
much as Van
Terry,
Dijk
for
would cope in that era.
example,
I don't know.
He would.
John Terry, Rio Ferdinand, they were not as good on the ball as Virgil van Dijk. I don't think they were.
I think we're underrating John Terry there.
Yeah, I think
John
Terry was
Terry on the
close.
ball is
Very good with both feet.
Unbelievable.
Very good with both feet.
We're
I think
underrating him. There.
On the
Well, I
ball,
think-
John Terry was
Yeah,
not
yeah.
great like Van Dijk on the ball.
Don't do that much. No, he was. John
He was,
Terry is an
seriously? He was
exceptionally
well.
talented footballer. Yes.
he was.
John Terry, left foot, right foot, diags,
Yeah.
passes
Left
through the
foot.
lines.
But
Good
I
on the
think-
ball, could dribble with it, scored an unbelievable amount of goals as well.
But if you think
John Terry
of
Also,
fine in
he's
a high
so
line as well.
slow.
Cope with it by
He's
reading
so
the game.
slow that I don't think he would have coped in this era, to be honest, Hajo.
No, he would have been fine. He'd have been
I
fine
just-
because there are slower defenders now, and they
you know
have.
what?
They have
You're
defenders built around
saying
them.
Beto might cause Van Dijk some problems physically. I can't wait for Tarkowski to play a ball over the top of John Terry and have him in a foot race with Beto.
Yes, exactly.
He probably would
Terry,
lose
40
on
yards
just
run,
pace,
40
but-
yards
but
run.
You cannot deny that John Terry faced a higher caliber of out-and-out nines than Van Dijk's ever faced in his career because it was a more prominent position that existed back then.
But the
But I
football
think-
was different.
I think
The football was more vertical. It was about balls playing in behind, over the top. It was a whole different case of defending back
It
then.
wasn't
as
as
well.
high
It was
line
probably-
as now.
It was probably harder. I think what's harder now for defenders is the amount of movement the attackers might have. Like when you play
Yes.
against Arsenal, every single player is moving in and out of positions all the time. Man City
Yeah.
the same. I think that's very, very difficult. Don't get me wrong. I think Van Dijk's coped with that. All I'm saying is, in transition with players over the top, I think Van Dijk has looked suspect at times.
the Athletic did a good
Because
piece
he
on
missed
this.
time that tackle against Beto.
Yeah, but can you imagine if that was happening every week?
But it's not happening every
But
week. He
he's
very
not-
rarely
it-
makes
It
a
did
mistake.
used to happen.
happened
It did
every
used to happen
week.
every. And my point was that in a bygone era, that did happen every week. And I think Van Dijk.
I
wouldn't be
can't
held
believe
in the
you're
same
suggesting
regard.
to me that Virgil
Mo.
van Dijk would struggle against fucking Yakubu.
Yes, yes.
Mo, your
What are we
video's
doing here?
already
You scored
demonetized.
a
Get
lot
up
of
there, all of John Terry's mistakes. We're gonna go through them one for one.
Nicholas Bentner would have caused absolute havoc for Van Dijk.
But
Oh,
Nicholas
throw
Anelka
Schumacher
would
there.
have caused havoc.
Fucking Johan Elmander was apparently the kryptonite of Van Dijk.
Oh,
Apparently.
Johan Elmander. Let's not do this. His feet were technically very, very good. Very. Good.
Joe,
What do you mean? Look at this. There's some good goals from Johan Elmander.
Johan Elmander was fantastic as one of them.
But Johan Elmander's not the type of
I
striker
think
I'm talking
Virgil
about,
van Dijk
though,
is
is he?
going to
Let's-
sit there
let's
having
be real.
sleepless nights if he's got to play Bolton with Kevin Davies and Johan Elmander up top. No.
Nah, but do you know what? He would have been less up for the battle against someone like Kevin Davies, though. Kevin Davies his whole game was physical. His whole game was about making contact with the defender and causing him an issue.
I think we are looking at this. If you were putting Van Dijk into a physical league, he would just adapt his game. I think Van Dijk can handle a 6'4" man with the stature of Van Dijk and the quality of Van Dijk can adapt his game to deal with stronger strikers, as he has
And the
done
quick and the
multiple
quickness.
times in his career.
No, he can't. He cannot cope with Beto. He couldn't cope with him in both
Oh,
games
no
I've seen this
wonder.
season.
But
He's
can you
not so
imagine?
blind, though.
Beto's got
Yeah,
the
but-
better of him in 2 games this
There's
season.
Can
no
you
rational
imagine-
league here.
Can you imagine if back
that
in
is
the day?
that is factually true. If you watch the game, you can see him not
But-
coping.
Jamie,
but imagine
why
back-
are we talking about signing Isak or anyone else? We should just go and get better because apparently he's the fucking best striker
You
going.
know what? If Beto actually had the ability to match what he can do physically, he'd be unbelievable. You can't
the
deny
thing
it. He's a
is-
handful.
Back in the day, like if those defenders every time they made a mistake got clipped up instantly, and it was and
Exactly.
it did millions of views on Twitter instantly, their reputations would be nowhere near what they are.
Oh my
Because
God.
you look back, there are so many clips where they are all over the shop at times with tricky strikers, tricky wingers.
Like
But we
Bond.
never saw. They never got clipped
Carlton
up.
Cole routinely bullied Rio Ferdinand. Agbonlahor was the fucking kryptonite for fucking Vidic.
Have you ever seen
That's what I'm
that
saying
clip-
about
One
these
level.
strikers.
that clip
though.
where
They were a
that clip
different
where
breed.
Ferdinand brought down Lundberg, where it's just like, and somehow it wasn't given as a red card,
Yes.
but it's shocking, absolutely abysmal defending. But most of those never got clipped up, especially if
Yeah.
they weren't in like games between like United
John
and
Terry
Arsenal
would
or-
never have been dribbled. That dribble that Milito literally put John Terry in a spliff in the Champions League.
Oh,
By
you
the
know,
way,
Yeah,
and
but
that
the
was
way
that.
Van-
Milito
I mean,
was
if we're going
very-
to talk about the
Milito was very
non-dribbling
good, though.
record for Van Dijk, that's ridiculous because he's just sort of got away with allowing the players to not dribble at him.
He got away with it.
Got
away with it.
Now
Yeah.
used against Van Dijk.
That record,
got away with it.
that record
defended
is
really
rid-
well,
I'm
but, like, he
sorry,
got-
that
he got
record
away
is
with it.
ridiculous. That record's
He did that.
ridiculous.
Got away with it. Is
Yeah,
how?
he did. He did because
How?
of the type of football that players would literally dribble at Van Dijk, turn around and keep possession rather than taking him on.
Yeah,
And-
but
But
and
that's
then
a
get
smart.
away.
But it's smart from him.
No,
He
it's
stops the.
not. It's not. It's because we live in a world where players are advised to keep possession rather than take the risk.
No.
Yeah. Whereas Johan Almando would have absolutely skinned him.
No, he wouldn't have. He might not have skinned him, but
was the.
they would have.
No,
They
I-
would have
you know
physically
what?
tried to beat him and take a risk because strikers and attackers back then didn't worry about XG percentages and things
I mean,
like that, which
no,
managers do
No,
now.
do you know what I think it is? Like, go back to your point about like players. back
I
then
could go
were
grab a
better.
John Terry fail comp
that's
and we
the
could watch it,
craziest-
yeah, and we could.
Yeah, and then go and grab a John Terry success comp.
Where
and
do
maybe watch it
where
for
do you
the next
rank
3
Van
weeks.
Dijk then? Where do you rank Van Dijk in the Premier League
Well,
best
right now,
defenders ever?
right now in the modern era, I think he's one of the best I've seen.
No. Overall, I'm asking you, where do you rank Van Dijk? Let me just say,
He's the
you should say John Terry
Compared
first.
to, compared to
He's the
what?
best.
though?
Everyone we have
He's
watched.
the
Like let's say from 90. I am probably the oldest here, so I've watched a little bit of Tony Adams, but none of you watched Tony Adams. So I didn't watch him enough.
I did.
So let's
I
say
did.
from 2004, 2002, Martin
It's
Coleman is different. Okay,
It's
where do you
fair.
rank him then?
It's Verge.
Top 5?
So who's the head of him?
Is that top 5 in a Ballon d'Or or
Who's ahead of him? He's ahead of him.
Clarify.
He's ahead-
What? In my lifetime, I've seen defenders.
In
above
your-
Van Dijk.
This is your ranking.
All right. Let me think. John Terry.
I'm gonna give you names. Yep, Stam.
John Terry, I would probably say
Carvalho.
Ramos. I would
No, in the
say-
Premier League. In the Premier
Oh,
League.
in the Prem. All right. Probably top 3, 4. I would say I'd rather have
Don't you dare
Vincent Company, John Terry, Vidic,
I'm
Ferdinand.
gonna say William Gallant.
Vidic.
And do you know what?
You-
And do you know
Oh,
what? I'd
Vin-
even hear me out on this.
Fingers,
Hear me out on this. Hear me
Vincent
out on this.
Company.
I'll wind it up even more. I'd throw.
Hold
Ledley
on,
King
Company.
into the discussion.
Oh,
Put
Ledley
Ledley
King.
King in there. Oh my
right,
god.
he's gone from
one
a
league Ledley.
rational to irrational league.
Ledley was unbelievable, boys.
It's his
He
opinion.
was.
though. I
He
like
was
it. It's
very
his
good,
opinion.
but like
Such an
he never
honest
played.
day, which was a very rare day. But Vidic as well.
He
It
was good,
what
though.
might be one of the most overrated defenders from that era.
If you put Vidic in today's football, he would be absolutely. I made a video on this like a few months ago, and I said, name one player that was struggling in today's game, and Nemanja Vidic would. He can't.
Yeah, he
like,
would.
can't play
Because
football.
technically, there was a big issue there, I would say.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. And you get rinsed. He would struggle. But like if you're talking about players that would be unbelievable across all eras of the Premier League, Van Dijk fits exactly into
Yeah,
that.
company, Terry Ferdinand will cope in any era, I think.
Ferdinand.
And Ledley. And Ledley.
I can't put Company in that.
Company.
Company
What?
after 2011-12 was.
Nah,
Well,
Vincent Company was quality, mate. What are we doing there? Like, he was.
I would
so
say
good.
I think
He's all right,
Ferdinand.
bro.
I think
He's all
Ferdinand
right.
physically maybe wouldn't be in the same level as Van Dijk and Terry. And I think on the ball they're probably maybe similar. But I think Terry and Van Dijk are the two that you would put up against one another. Like, I think that's the
sorry,
two
sorry, everyone. Why the fuck Sylvain Distin got a mention in the comments?
Well, he's a player, to be fair. What did they say?
Jagielka as well, best partnership.
Honest to God, what we
You know what?
doing?
This
here?
guy was a player, to be fair. He was.
Just gonna leave it here. That's for a different day. Just gonna leave it here with this. Big up
you know,
everyone that
you know what
joined
we're
us.
going to do backstage? Everyone's going to stay backstage for 2.5 minutes and we're going to pull up this John Terry fail comp that I've got. And we're all going to watch this and we're going to see if you know, this is the standard that Van Dijk couldn't survive against.
By the way, that's an absolute shout. Carvalho gets into that as well.
Carvalho
I've
was
done
a
him
very
dirty
good
there,
defender.
not
He's not
mentioned.
better than Van
He was good.
Dijk, but he was one of the first
He
generation.
definitely
He was better than Vidic.
He might.
Yeah,
do you know
Carvalho
what?
was
He
better than
might
Vidic.
have been better than
I'm
John
willing
Terry.
to make all of us watch this live, right? Lose the demonetizer of the stream.
Goodbye.
What
No,
is it?
don't-
Is it
don't
a
do
it's a
money
fail
first
comp?
for
I need
Terry
it to be matched with a success comp as well. We'll sit
I'm
for 3
not
weeks.
running your
watching John
agendas
Terry
for you.
success
You can
comp.
go find the John Terry success comp. I'll go
Yeah, so
find you Van Dijk success comp.
you're going with a biased agenda of only showing one side of the argument on the
Too
rational
right,
league,
I am.
which isn't acceptable.
I've had to listen
It's
to you
not
for 10 minutes
acceptable.
tell me better. It's God's gift. I'll get me 2 minutes of joy against of John Terry fails.
Yeah. I'll tell you one thing, Terry or Vidic didn't mess up in a Champions League final to lose for his team.
No, he won it.
I mean,
Yeah.
Vidic,
Oh,
you know,
Vidic defensively
Vidic, you know,
without
9
having to-
and 11 wasn't great.
Yeah, true. 11. Yeah, 11. He was out of his depth.
I'm
to be
afraid to
fair.
get a copyright strike, to be honest, on the chat.
Do it.
if I play this,
Do
you know,
it.
just-
No, it's
I'm gonna
not
get a
worth it.
copyright strike. It's
To
not
be
worth
fair,
not
it.
worth it.
worst thing that happens.
No,
was
I don't
just
think it's
cut out
worth
this
it,
2
Mo.
minutes.
It's a cheap
Yeah,
shot.
yeah.
He's worried. He's worried. He's worried. He knows that I've got on him.
I've
got
seen it,
I've got
boys.
Freddie
I grew
Ljungberg
up
on this.
I grew up watching those mistakes and John Terry like scrambling to get up off the deck after he'd been spun and stuff. But I also saw the unbelievable player that he was.
Yeah, you have to settle the poll, man. Quick 1 minute poll. Should we play the John Terry fail corner?
Yeah, I
no,
mean,
it's
I don't want to get a copyright strike.
No, I
you know
agree.
the difference
I
between a
agree.
demonetization.
The poll doesn't
No,
take
The
the
difference
copyright
between a
strike into-
monetization and a copyright strike is big.
Oh,
A copyright strike never
worst
goes away.
thing that happens, you just cut this out the stream at the end afterwards.
It's not
And
worth it. It's
No,
not
you
worth
don't
it.
understand.
Put the link in the chat and let people watch it if they
Yeah,
want to
yeah.
watch it.
Anyway,
No, because
listen,
I
guys.
want to watch it with you, and I want to see your reaction. How you try and
Oh,
defend
we'll
this
watch
shit.
it backstage. We'll watch it backstage. You can film it and put it on Twitter if you want. I don't mind.
No, I'm not that sad.
I'm gonna next stream I'm gonna play it in a different way. Like I'm gonna have to play it on my channel first to make sure if it gets copyrighted or not. So just gonna say do that.
There you go, people.
But listen, people,
can
thank you
watch
so
it
much for
there.
being here. Appreciate everyone that support the channel. We're 6 likes away from 200. We still have over 400 people in the house. Hit that like button. This was a very, very entertaining stream. We'll see you guys soon. We're out of here, people.